just got rid of the graphic. Yeah. Start. Well, good morning and a very warm welcome along to the beautiful island of Bermuda. We're in the mid-Atlantic and we are all set for game day one of the ICC Men's T20 World Cup America's final qualifier, supported by our friends at Dream 11 as always. And these are the 12 fixtures that we have to look forward to. 2 games every day and 2 rest days indeed that will be much needed for the teams in what is a pretty humid 26, 27 degrees. We start with a big one. It is Bermuda taking on Canada. Probably the 2 tournament favourites. Remember, there is a spot on the line, the T20 World Cup next year. And a little while ago, I was out with the 2 captains for the toss. That's Delray Rowlands and Sad bin Safar. Let's go and find out what happened. Good morning, a very warm welcome to the White Hill Cricket Field here in beautiful Bermuda. It's day number 1 of the ICC Men's T20 World Cup America's qualifier, with 1 place on the line for the big dance next year in the USA and the West Indies, and we've got a massive match to start with. It's the home side Bermuda taking on Canada. I've got the 2 captains alongside the key man, the ICC match referee, that's Mr. Rian King on the far right, joined by Sad bin Safar of Canada and Delray Rowlands, the home captain. Delray, you've got the coin, give it a toss.
Ready? Yeah. Tails call.
Tails is the call. It goes in between the stumps.
And it's a tail.
It is a tail. Okay, Sad, you've won the toss. What are you going to do and why?
We're going to have a ball first. Looks like a little damp wicket with a little bit of moisture. So I think the first half, we may have a variable bounce and some lateral movement as well. So looking to make use of it.
How have your preparations been for this tournament? This is the big one.
Yeah, we realize and we know what's on stake. It's a ticket to the World Cup, so we're taking it very seriously. Preparations have been going well. We were in Houston, just getting acclimatized and playing as many games as we can. So feeling confident, and it's just about now executing our skills on the day.
You got a good track record here. You won the previous qualifier here in Bermuda. You hoping to do the same?
Hopefully, yes, but we also realize that in present, the stats don't really matter. It's how you play on the day. So we're looking forward to staying present and play our best cricket on the day.
Sad, very best of luck today. Okay, that's Sad bin Safar of Canada. They've won the toss. Going to bowl first. Delray, come in to me. Be honest with me. What would you have done? Would you have looked to have a bowl as well?
Yeah, we would have bowled first. Obviously, this wicket hasn't been played on for a little while, so it's fresh. And obviously, early morning start. But it is what it is. You know, bat first, you can get our runs on the board and hopefully defend them.
How important is that knowledge of these home conditions going to be for you and your side?
Yeah, very important. It will play a big role, but you know, we can't really dwell on it too much. You still got to play the cricket. You know, we're batting first. We still got to look to post a decent total and defend it.
I thought you were exceptional in Argentina, the style of cricket that you played, but it's going to be a very different challenge here with Canada now involved.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can say that, but I don't think it will change the way that we look to play. I think, you know, we'll look to be positive and take the game on as usual. So, yeah, you can expect to see that from us today, and yeah, hopefully we come out on top.
Okay, finally, my first experience here in Bermuda. Big crowd expected. Are they going to be your 12th man?
Yeah, definitely is. It's been a lot of talk about the crowds and people saying they're coming. So, yeah, hopefully they get behind us and they can push us over the line.
Nice to see you, my friend.
Thank you.
All the very best of luck as always. Okay, that's going to wrap it up from down here at the toss. Canada, they've won the toss. No real surprise looking at this surface. They're going to bowl first. So that was the news from the toss. Andrew Leonard here, delighted to have Peter Della Penna alongside me. Peter, firstly, great to see you again. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Who wouldn't want to be here in Bermuda, Lenny?
Well, my first time here. Peter, tell us about these local conditions. Going to be a little bit different maybe, particularly for Canada.
Yeah, this ground, White Hill Field, is where most of the qualifier was held in 2019 when Bermuda hosted the sub-regional leading into the global qualifier in Dubai. There is no more global qualifier here, so this is the final stage now. It's really a special opportunity for the teams here. And Bermuda has the confidence knowing that 4 years ago, when they hosted here, they beat USA twice. USA doesn't have to go through the qualifier this time around because they're co-hosting the T20 World Cup in 2024, and they're probably grateful for that because they had a handful here 4 years ago, and that just showed how advantageous it is to be in the home field conditions for Bermuda, and they could be a serious threat against Canada here on the first day.
Well, we're yet to even have the first ball bowled, and Peter Della Penna's already had a shot at USA. We've got 4 teams here, Peter. Panama got through by the barest of margins on net run rate. They're the lowest ranked of the 4 sides. Is that one World Cup spot next year in the USA and the West Indies? Is it between the host Bermuda and Canada, who are going to face off in this first match?
Yeah, more than likely this is going to be what's going to set up the rest of the week, this opening day encounter between Bermuda and Canada. Panama's gone through a little bit of a shake-up. Irfan Hapiji, the captain who was there in Argentina, the sub-regional qualifier, and has been their captain for quite some time, no longer in the squad. Cayman Islands threatened USA a couple years ago, but that was partly due to the fact that when they played that match at the National Stadium in Hamilton, it was on a really, really tricky wicket. USA just barely escaped that time, but I think Cayman Islands realistically is going to have a handful against Bermuda and Canada here, so today's game could set up the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, we've got 2 venues throughout this tournament, here at Whitehill, and then we'll move across to the National Stadium in 3 days' time. The format's quite simple, 4 teams playing out for 1 spot. They all play each other twice. What about the hopes or the players to look out for? The likes of Kamau Leverock, certainly one to watch, and Bermuda's captain Delray Rollins. What about Aaron Johnson from Canada?
Aaron Johnson, definitely another one, Sudman Zafar, but a big addition, a re-addition to the squad. Nikhil Dutta, who's been kind of in and out of the squad at times in recent years, he's back. So the fact that Nikhil Dutta coming off recently minor league cricket season with the San Diego Surf Riders, he's had a lot of cricket in decent form, both with bat and with ball. Traditionally in the past, for Canada, he's been primarily an off spinner, but he's somebody who can definitely contribute with the bat as well. So Canada bolstering their stocks, once again replenishing the squad under the leadership of Puvadu Desanayake. Going to be very difficult challenge for the host Bermuda on day 1 of the tournament.
Well, 51 places separate all of these sides on the ICC T20I rankings, but the rankings count for nothing in a tournament like this. It's all about who holds their nerve, who plays the best cricket over the course of the 7 or 8 days we're here in the beautiful island of Bermuda. We've seen the toss, we've had a little bit of a chat before the start of the game. We're nearly all set for play. Let's get to it. It's the ICC Men's T20 World Cup America's qualifier. 1 place on the line. So let's take a look at the 2 starting 11s. Great to hear from Peter Della Penna. Great to be back with him, in fact. Fine associate cricket journalist, as he's known around the world. And he's joining me, Andrew Leonard, for every single ball of this ICC Men's T20 World Cup America's qualifier, supported by Dream 11. We've got a lot to look forward to over the next 7 or 8 days. And Canada, from there, 15-player squad, the 4 that have missed out today. Dylan Halinger, surprisingly, the big quick. No room for him in the starting 11 today. But let's look at Bermuda first. They actually have 16 with them, so no McKeel Walker, AJ Richardson, Jared Richardson, Jabari Darrell, Jacob Alberts, and Justin Pitcher. All missing out. Justin Pitcher, in fact. But keep your eyes on Zico Burgess, the quick bowler, alongside Kamau Leverock, Delray Rollins. Trey Manders has that impressive record at the top of the order. What about Canada, Peter? What do you expect from their starting 11?
Well, for me, one to keep an eye on, Harsh Thakur. He's somebody who came out of the under-19 setup 4 or 5 years ago now, and he's grown tremendously. He's an all-around prospect in the middle order with his off-spin. So somebody, I think, keep an eye on for them. Jeremy Gordon is back for Canada. He's missed a few tournaments in recent times, but he's good to go in this event. He's another one who offers some serious pace to have to negotiate for Bermuda.
Peter, I have to say, by associate cricket standards, a really good crowd in to start. It's a Saturday, yes, but it's a morning start, 10 a.m. And the home fans, they've come in and they've filled the grass banks and indeed the wall on the near side of the ground. I've been told explicitly that it's not just the Whitehill field here, Peter. It's in fact the Somerset Bridge Recreation Club, the home of the Somerset Eagles. And the local fans, of course, it's a fully ticketed event, Peter, all paying their admission fee and coming in to cheer the home side on. What a prize it is. For Bermuda, they were excellent in Buenos Aires. They stayed unbeaten, 4 wins from 4, and they looked a class apart from the rest of the opposition there. But it's a very, very different challenge with Canada about. They're the highest ranked side in the Americas region. 19th in the world. For me, they are favourites coming here. That's a big toss that they've won this morning. Because that wicket is very sticky. Canada even ranked above USA, 22nd in the world, America 19th in the world, Canada. Surely the favourites to qualify.
It would be a big effort from Bermuda as hosts to take that spot. And in case people are wondering, why is it called Somerset Bridge? literally. It's because we're just less than 1,000 meters from Somerset Bridge, the actual Somerset Bridge in Bermuda. We've got a number of bridges that connect different parts of the thin strip. Bermuda, very unique geography. It's just the roads, there's basically 3 roads. There's Middle Road, there's South Road, and there's Harbor Road. That's basically
And it is a beautiful island. We are nearly all set for the start. It's going to be the left arm seamer, Kaleem Sana, to get things going. Maybe the one weakness for Canada, they haven't played much international cricket of late. In fact, their last T20I was all the way back in November last year at the Desert Cup T20I series that they won. They lifted the silverware there, beating out Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and then Oman in the final. And certainly the likes of Aaron Johnson in particular, impressing to say the least. Also Srimatha Wijeratne. But we are nearly all set for the first ball. Just the umpires undergoing their final checks. It's going to be the main man, Kamau Leverock, to take strike alongside Trey Manders. Bermuda certainly have talent in their side, and if you look at Delroy Rawlins and Leverock and Manders in particular, 3 of the bastions, 3 of the very best on the associate circuit, they're going to need to be at their best for Bermuda to upset the odds and to take this one qualification spot. Can they use these home conditions to get their ticket booked to the USA and the West Indies next year? You're going to find out live with us. We're all set for the eagerly anticipated ICC Men's T20 World Cup Americas qualifier. Here we go. And runs immediately and chalk 4 of them up to Kamau Leverock. That gets a warm ovation from the home crowd. And the dream start for Bermuda just strays onto the pads of Leverock, and it's comfortably put away.
It comes into this event as Bermuda's second leading scorer in T20Is with 629 runs. Make that 633 now. It's Leverock and Rawlins and Manders, the top 3. Manders, 3rd overall in Bermuda's T20I history. Again, these stats began being recorded officially as T20Is in 2019. So this is Leverock's 25th match.
This one's kept a bit low, angling down the leg side. Peter, talk to us about the conditions. You've been here 3 or 4 times already. From feeling that wicket, from looking at it this morning, you see the LBW, in fact, you're seeing the boundary here, clipped away for 4. It felt very sticky, very tacky, that wicket.
Yeah, you can understand why. Canada won the toss, chose to bowl first. Modern T20 standards, most teams bowl first anyway because they like to know what to chase and how to pace their chase. But in this particular wicket here, the extra moisture made it a very easy decision. The other thing to keep in mind here is, I'm not sure how apparent it will be from the camera work that you're seeing on ICC TV around the world, but this is one of the smaller venues you're going to see at a World Cup qualifier. And so even though the conditions may be difficult for batting at times, you can make up runs quickly. If you get a bad ball, it's going to almost always go for 6. Keep it tight. You can restrict people, though. A score in the 140, 150 range, 160 range, that's about what you'll expect here. You're not going to see 200 scores, but you can hit 6s here.
And that will be given as a wide outside the off stump. You look back at that event in 2019, which was in essence, it was the men's regional final for the Americas, but that would not have got you a place at the World Cup. The World Cup's been expanded now to 20 teams, and all of the regional finals are now direct qualifiers to the World Cup. We've seen 3 of those places taken already, Ireland and Scotland getting through Edinburgh, and Papua New Guinea getting through the East Asia Pacific region. 1 spot on offer for the Americas, but with USA co-hosting, they qualify automatically. But back then, with USA involved, USA finished the 3rd of the 4 teams involved. Canada were champions, being undefeated. What do you take from that tournament that we can learn from for this one?
Well, hopefully this tournament will stay live until the final day, because on that occasion 4 years ago, the last 2 days of matches were all dead rubbers. Canada was beaten by Bermuda on the opening day, or excuse me, USA was beaten by Bermuda on the opening day, and then USA in the rematch on day 4 of the tournament lost again. So Bermuda had locked up their spot in Dubai after just 4 of the 6 days along with Canada. And so the last 2 days of the tournament, I remember there were some USA fans who traveled out from the East Coast hoping to cheer on USA because they had just gotten the professional contracts with the funding from ACE and Major League Cricket after getting ODI status in Namibia a few months earlier. There was a lot of excitement. And then those USA fans, after USA lost to Bermuda the second time, they just spent the last 2 days of the tournament going to the beaches. They went to the beaches and the golf courses here, Lenny. No more cricket after that.
And like this tournament back then in 2019, as we get to the end of the first over, the score 5-0, it was the 2 venues used, but it was just, I think, just the 1 day of play up at the National Stadium, whereas it's split now. We'll have 3 days here at the Whitehill Field and 3 days up at the National Stadium. The scores tended to be quite low in that event, Peter. Do you think they'll be a little bit higher this time around?
Well, part of the reason why they were so low is because the wicket was really poorly maintained at the National Stadium at the time, and the tournament organizers took a decision on the fly to shift all the games. It was supposed to be a split venue tournament, and they decided after just 1 day at the National Stadium in Hamilton that all the games needed to be played at Somerset Bridge if it was going to be a fair condition event. And that was the right decision at the time. But talking with some of the people around here, some of the locals, Dexter Smith, who's the editor-in-chief of the Royal Gazette newspaper here in Bermuda, former Bermuda player himself, Alan Douglas Sr., who's in charge of the wickets at this event for both grounds. Dexter Smith said he credits Alan Douglas Sr. for doing an awful lot of work to get these wickets right. And Alan Douglas Jr., his son, is on the field today.
We big Jeremy Gordon, the fast bowler. Let's open up from the far end of the ground. Yes, certainly the scale of work from the Bermuda Cricket Board and indeed the ICC Americas team into this event has been very noticeable, very tangible. And we've seen a huge amount of promotion for the event. As you landed in the airport, the big screen had the poster and the fixtures up. We've seen very strong ticket sales, particularly for the Bermuda games. Should be in for a great tournament.
Yeah, already there's a couple hundred fans in here for the start of play, and that's only going to grow as the day goes on. There's always a great atmosphere in Bermuda. Cup match, famous cup match, the first weekend in August every year. Always a huge occasion in Bermuda.
Driven straight to the man at cover, and a warm welcome along to all our viewers in India in particular as well, Peter, watching on Fan Code. The reason they're joining us, India versus England, a World Cup warm-up, washed out without a ball bowled. No such problems here in Bermuda. Plenty of action to enjoy.
Is that really why they're watching this, Lenny? I thought the spillover across the border from Nepal, you would have sent the bat signal out, the Lenny signal out on Instagram and Facebook to make sure everybody's tuning in.
Clubbed away with real power, a bit of panache. Outfield not the quickest. It's a slightly different grass to what you'd be used to. It's a little bit thicker, a little bit clumpier. So you may want to go early to get full reward. A couple of runs to get Manders off the mark.
Another reason I love coming here, not just the fan support you can see around the boundary, but media support. Where else in the North America region do you see this kind of media support, Lenny? We've got a number of photographers here, a number of print and internet media on the island, not just the Royal Gazette, but some other media outlets here. Island Stats, you've got the DJ keeping the fans entertained. You don't get this in the USA venues. You certainly don't get it at the Canadian venues, Lenny.
Swing and a miss outside the off stump through to Wijaratne, the keeper.
This venue, Lenny, by the end of the 8 days here, I think it has a genuine chance to knock off the Sunsets in Muscat and the people of Kathmandu from the top of your rankings list for the Andrew Leonard Associate Venue Rankings.
Well, certainly Muscat and the TU International Cricket Ground right up there. we'll have to wait to get across to the other venue as well. Looking forward to seeing the National Stadium, where a great friend of mine, Alan Lewis, has done a lot of rugby refereeing there. And it's a sporting island, isn't it, really? Athletics very popular here, soccer, basketball we're hearing growing in popularity, tennis, golf.
Did you not fill out a customs form on arrival, Lenny? Are you leaving at the America's Cup? The sailing? Come on. So many things to do here. This is a tremendous sports culture here.
A little bit of movement away from Manders, but he stands and he delivers. He gets the crowd clapping in unison and smiles across the faces of the fans. Beautiful stroke from Manders. Good batter to watch. You get a sense the extra pace on the ball is almost going to be a welcome thing for the two openers for Bermuda. A second boundary of the day.
Yeah, back 4 years ago when the matches were played here, it was actually the spinners who did far better than the pace bowlers.
Glorious. Absolutely glorious from Trey Manders. He held the pose after he's seen the photographers are in. And Gordon's opening over. It goes for 11. And Bermuda off to a very solid start. They're 16 for none.
Yeah, Manders is a popular name on the island. Trey Manders, he's somebody who's been in the Bermuda set for a very long time. And you can see why, with elegant driving like that. Came up through the Bermuda under 15, under 19 setup. He's been in the senior squad for a very long time. All of those guys at the top of the order, Leverock, Rollins, they basically all came up through the same junior batch together in the 2011 to 2013 era, and they've had more than a decade in the national team together. So even though the stats for T20 cricket might only show from 2019, don't be deceived by that. These guys have been playing together in the senior squad for a decade now. And here's one of my guys to watch, Harsh Thakur, who I feel is going to be a big-time impact player in this event. He's going to come on to bowl off spin around the wicket starting in the third over.
And he's smoked down the ground all the way. The first maximum of this qualifier. Spin introduced in the power play, and Leverock says that will do nicely. Get that all the way over the rope. It's the first 6.
And the boundaries are short here, all the way around. So you time it well, you're going to get full value. And Leverock just straight down the ground.
Yeah, the change in field came about because of that stroke. And you can just feel an air of confidence growing around the ground. Delray Rawlins was none too happy losing the toss this morning, Peter. He was desperate, as we heard in the pre-match coverage, to bowl first as well. So on what's a very sticky, very tacky surface, this is an excellent start for Bermuda. An appeal, given not out. Nothing of any interest from the bowler, but the keeper and the slip was convinced, and the hometown DJ gives it a shout of easy on the eye, just to calm things down. He's going to play a big part himself. Great atmosphere already, Peter, and it's only the first morning.
Only the first 12 minutes. Just wait until the innings break, Lenny.
Cut away. Just 2 fielders allowed outside the 30-yard circle. Again, you're seeing the outfield is not the quickest, so you should see quite a few 2s run, you'd suspect, despite the slightly smaller playing area. Probably looking around 55-metre boundaries almost the whole way around the ground. Really nice venue, have to say. And they've painted it up to look a picture for the opening day. And a big swing and a miss from Manders to close out Thacker's first over. 9 runs have come from it. We're halfway through the power play, and Bermuda are 25 for 0.
After Bermuda's third over, the score is now 25 without loss.
So that's a look at the Bermuda lineup for today's contest. We'll likely see the captain in next at number 3. You'd suspect Delray Rollins. And the rest of that lineup is not in batting order. Zico Burgess will be probably a little bit further down. Macy Allen Douglas up a touch. But Bermuda, I think the biggest thing we both noticed about them in Buenos Aires, Peter, was a real change in terms of their strength, their conditioning, their fitness levels. And that paid to their favour very much so in the sub-regional qualifier. Will it help them put it right up to Canada here throughout this main Americas qualifier?
Well, it'll certainly help them close the gap. They were some distance behind Canada 4 years ago, and even 2 years ago in Antigua. They were competitive at times, competitive in stretches, but they just didn't have the stamina through 20 overs. And fitness is an area they've worked on especially after the tournament in Antigua in November 2021.
Nicely guided into the leg side. It'll just be a single, as it's sort of half a stop from Nikhil Dutta, back involved in the setup. You see Canada bowling a lot of spin today, Peter?
Well, they've got 12 overs. They can earmark Nikhil Dutta. And you've got Harsh Thakur, who we just saw bowl the last over, and Sadman Zafar, the captain, with his left-arm spin. So 3 very different style bowlers. Sadman Zafar with his left-arm spin. Harsh Thakur bowls a different style of off-spin than Nikhil Dutta bowls. But definitely 12 overs you can account for in the spin department there.
Cleans him up. The first wicket. Sana's change of ends has worked, and he roars in delight. Wasn't quite on the money to start with in his opening over that time. Nails the top of off stump, and Manders is going to have to take the long walk back.
Bermuda have lost their first wicket. Trey Manders.
And just flicking ever so slightly across the line. Ball just shaped in a tiny bit, and instead of playing for the straight bat, Manders pays the price for just trying to flick across the line ever so slightly. And it means he's out for 12.
Bermuda's next batsman, number 4.
And it means Terran Frey is going to come out to the middle. Terran Frey, in his T20I career for Bermuda, this is his 17th match, 169 runs at an average of 14.08 with a best of 62 not out. But again, he's somebody who's been in the squad. Basically, all these guys for Bermuda have been in the squad for a decade plus or thereabouts. Very experienced squad, so don't let the T20I official stats fool you. These guys are a squad that has been cultivated for the better part of the 2010s. And to a large extent, Canada much the same. Sadman Zafar has been in the national team for around about a decade now. Shamantha Wijayaratne, similar. Jeremy Gordon, Navneet Dhaliwal. It's only really Aaron Johnson, Pargat Singh, who are kind of relatively newcomers.
No ball signalled by umpire Jacqueline Williams, and Sana takes a look back in disbelief. That means a free hit will follow. A lovely way for Frey to get his innings underway. We saw this in Buenos Aires as well in Argentina at the sub-regionals. Frey and Rollins almost rotating their number 3 and 4 spot depending upon which opener it was that got out. So they don't want the two left-handers together.
Yeah, Rollins left-handed, Kamal Leibrock left-handed, and obviously Frey and Rando's right-handed. So you see that floating batting order utilized just to try and keep the bowling side off balance. It's very sticky, very muggy morning here. It's been overcast. No threat of rain, really, but very cloudy, and so it's a bit humid here this morning on the island with temperatures in the mid-80s Fahrenheit.
Goes for the Yorker, nails it, but Frey gets something on it. Just a little feather of an inside edge, does enough, races away to the rope. And fine leg up in the circle. Remember, you cannot change a field on a free hit if the same batter's on strike, so the field had to remain the same, and Frey gets off the mark with his first 4.
Yeah, Sana just gets the radar slightly wrong. The nutmeg shot, the nutmeg, through the legs.
Yeah, the 2 fielders they're going with at the moment outside the circle, it's a split field, so one in the deep on the leg side, one in the off. Deep third in place and deep backward square leg out. Deep backward square, one of 3 fielders on the leg side, mid on and short fine in there too. 6 on the off. Big swing and a miss, and again, just a hint of movement, Peter. That not altogether dissimilar to the one that knocked out Trey Manders off stump.
And I wonder, have a replay of this, if this one missed the leg stump. Where did it miss?
Take a look at the replay after this ball. Think about how in vogue and how in demand left arm seamers are in T20I cricket, in the T20 franchise leagues. You see why. It's this angle that right-handed batters find difficult. And if you can find that ability to shape it back in to the right-hander alongside the natural variation of the one that goes across, it can prove very difficult to play.
That was the big heave of the previous ball. It missed, and then 1 ball later, it was cries of catch. Nicholas Curtin was at a deep square leg, and Curtin, who is regarded by some people as an excellent fielder. He's got a lot of energy. His foot speed to the ball is quick, but at times his catching is awfully shaky. He's out at deep square leg for that hook shot, and this time it just didn't carry to him.
Nicely picked up. That was a length that Kamal Leibrock has dispatched with a swivel pull well in front of square on the leg side. And it was the length he picked up so quickly to end that wicket taking over with the boundary. Sana's gone for 11 runs from it, and Bermuda moved to 36 for 1.
He's back of the length. Leibrock sitting on it and yanking it wide of the mid-on fielder, Dutza. And the fans appreciate
After 4 overs,
Kamal Leibrock.
27 for the loss of 1. 36 for the loss
So it's
of
36 for 1. There we go. After 4 overs. Leibrock on 16. Good start for the former captain. As Harsh Tucker bowl his second over now, and he's going to come over the wicket this time.
Very difficult to talk about likely par scores at this stage. It's our first look at the playing surface, and as Delray Rowlands told us at the toss, it hasn't been used an awful lot of late. An appeal for a stumping, and not for the first time. Vijay Aratne was convinced, and nobody else was. Jacqueline Williams at square leg unmoved. Looked to me like he kept his back leg in, Peter.
He's just keeping umpire Williams on her toes. Doesn't hurt to ask. The toe came up just for a fraction of a second, but it was back down comfortably.
Nicely bowled again by Thacker. His pace is very good. Not a huge amount of turn on offer, really just skidding on with the arm. Difficult skill in the modern game, bowling right arm off spin. And he's doing it ever so effectively.
Oh, he was a menace against USA. 3 wickets he had in that match in Antigua back in 2021. That went to a super over purely because of Canada having a mental blunder on the final ball of play. And Rusty Turan was the only one who was awake on the field. Can't even say Ali Khan was awake because Ali Khan just kind of gave up, and it was only being spurred by Rusty Turan to keep running after Hamza Tariq, Canada wicketkeeper, threw the ball away in celebration. USA ran bys to force a super over. One of the more bizarre endings you'll ever see in a cricket match.
Big appeal, but the umpire, Jermaine Lindo, unmoved. It's a maiden, the rarest of things in T20I cricket. Terran Frey can get nothing on it, and Thacker stayed right on the money. The 5th over of the first innings of this tournament is in the books. Bermuda remained 36 for 1. Yeah, it was an iconic finish, that, wasn't it, in Antigua, the Coolidge Cricket Ground. A quick look at the LBW appeal here. Speared in. Well, that to me looks very close. Height an issue?
Yeah, he was hit above the pads. It hit in the blue, didn't hit the pads, and the height, making that an easy not out. Harsh Thacker, I said he was one to watch. I looked like a fool after that first bowling bowl that was smashed for 6, but since then, just 3 runs off the next 11 deliveries. And I feel like he's going to be a major player for Canada in this event here in Bermuda. He's only 25. As part of the Vancouver Knights setup in the GT20.
No, the loud call from Kamau Leverock sending Terran Frey back, who's been put a little bit on edge by that maiden over. Yeah, that GT20 Canada, Peter, certainly is that something that again veers a competitive advantage towards the Canadians. Many of this squad will have indeed not just played in that GT20 for multiple events now, but also starred. Aaron Johnson had a good tournament. We saw Sad bin Safar, effective as always. As Leverock goes large. It's another maximum, thuds into, well, the rock's out on the far side of the ground. That ball's going to need to be inspected. A beautiful stroke of the highest quality, all the way for 6. Again, that extra pace of Gordon. Well, Peter Della Penna, it's been punished.
There were cries of catch, maybe for the crowd. They were going to crawl down the rocks there. It certainly wasn't going to be for the man on the boundary, Navneet Dhaliwal.
Going to be 4 more back-to-back boundaries. Gordon, well, he's proving very costly indeed in the context of the opening clash in Bermuda, just growing in confidence. It's always going to be the 2 left-handers that are the key wickets, Leverock and Rawlins. And Leverock, hasn't he started well?
Going to bowl a slower ball, the change of pace has got to be subtle. It's got to be 10, 15 kilometer an hour difference. This was so slow that it became so easy to adjust to the difference in pace. He dropped that a good 25, 30 kilometers per hour, and that made it very, very simple for Leverock to pick it out of the hand, keep the hands back, and get it to the offside rope.
Well, this is an exhibition, a masterclass, if you will. The 50 is going to come up in rapid time. The home crowd are gaining audibly in noise, and the reason why is Kamau Leverock. Well, he's doing it again. 6, 4, and now 4 more.
Bongi goes, boom! Through mid-wicket. He's middling the ball right off a middle road here.
Well, imperious, the only word really to use for that. An exhibition, 6-4-4. Gordon under the pump. And really feeling the pressure. This one's going to go all the way. Leverock, legendary right now. This feels like a game-changing over as early as the 7th of the tournament.
You can hear the shouts in the crowd. Keep going, Bongi. And the home fans loving what Bongi Leverock's doing out there right now. 36 off 15. He's somebody who's got a devastating reputation as a power hitter, but just the longevity. Can he keep it going beyond the power play is the question. Sometimes he gets these really good starts, but isn't able to carry on. If he can keep going here, he's got a century under his belt in T20I cricket.
Oh, very special. This over has been dispatched for 26 by Kamau Leverock. This tournament has been kicked into gear by the Southpaw. And Kamau Leverock, he looks full of confidence. He moves into the 40s. And Bermuda on fire to start with.
Bongi goes boom, boom, boom. Straight down the ground. Doesn't take much to clear the ropes here. And into somebody's driveway here off of Middle Road. And the home fans loving what Bongi Leverock is producing here. Leverock, a proud name in Bermuda cricket history. Everybody knows about Dwayne Leverock at the 2007 World Cup. And Bongi, Kamau Leverock, is the nephew of Dwayne. Dwayne is his uncle. So Bongi, his mom and Dwayne, they're twins. And so it's his mom's brother. That is Dwayne Leverock. And Kamau is carving out his own reputation over the last decade or so. And the Bermuda, the pink and blue. Pink sandy beaches here. Pink, very prominent color in all the sports teams here for Bermuda. I'm very proud of that.
It's like two different games at the moment, isn't it? Two different sports out there. Leverock at one end, smashing 26 off and over, and Terran Frey has just played out 7 consecutive dots from Harsh Thacker. Power play has ended, the fielding restrictions have eased, so 5 fielders allowed outside the circle, and all of them being used right now by Canada. And Frey's tortured stay at the crease is going to end. The 7 consecutive dots is followed by a thin edge behind. Wijayaratne finally gets a decision going his way. And Thacker, well, he's earned that wicket. The build-up of pressure continued to tell, and Frey, he's gone for 5.
Only 10 career T20I wickets now for Harsh Thacker, but you wouldn't know it by how well he's bowled in this spell. Again, the 25-year-old is so good. Just mixing up his pace, just darting it in, floating it up at times. This time just skids it on and going for the cut shot. Just hustled for her pace a little bit. Terran Frey, and it leads to the edge behind. And now we will see Delray Rollins. So this is the crucial period of the game for Bermuda. This partnership often dictates the success or failure for Bermuda. Captain Rollins, former Sussex man, coming out to the middle now. Former England under-19 as well. He's born and raised here in Bermuda, but he was able to play for England under-19s temporarily through residency because he went to boarding school in Sussex, St. Bede's, and he's lived in England long enough that he was able to go tour India several years ago where he scored a century opening the batting. He's had a very complex career here. He made his debut in the senior team as a 15-year-old bowling left-arm spin, batting number 11. And coming up through the junior ranks, he was an all-rounder. But when he made his senior team debut, they needed just somebody who could bowl spin, and he bowled flighted left-arm spin because he was so short at the time, and then he went through a huge growth spurt. And stands over 6 feet tall now. So his left-arm spin is very quick. He bowls darts. His style of spin has transformed over the course of his senior team career, based mainly due to his height that transformed. But now he's known way more for his batting exploits.
I think you'd still have him in the all-rounder category. Certainly he was very impressive in Buenos Aires, picking up 8 wickets in those 4 competitive games. In fact, also picking up 6 wickets in the 2 T20Is against Argentina before that.
And the number one reason why I love him, Lenny, he breaks out that reverse sweep, and he plays it so beautifully.
Well, we'll see if he plays it here. It doesn't feel like a sweeping kind of wicket. Something about the Americas region that gives us those wickets. You may not be too conducive for sweeping. I think back to the Musa Stadium in Texas. Probably the big surprise is the absence of county cricket this year for Delray Rawlins. His first year, in fact, back permanently in Bermuda. As we get to the end of that wicket-taking 7th over, it's 64 for 2. Did play just the 1 game at the start of the summer for the second 11, made runs and took wickets. But I think he's then optionally chose to come home. And it won't be the end of his county career per se. He may well look to go back in future years, but right now he seems thoroughly focused on trying to lead his country back to the World Cup, a World Cup of any kind, for the first time in 17 years since their one and only appearance in the 50-over edition back in 2007.
Big responsibility for Delray. And last time, 4 years ago, he was really at the peak of his powers with Sussex. And after his final match here in that tournament, his dad, who works as a corrections officer and also doubles as a taxi driver, his dad had to rush him off to the airport. He was catching a flight, I believe it was to Gatwick, and then driven straight to play a T20 blast match only a couple hours later. So he had a hectic schedule at that time. A bit more island time for Delray this tournament. He doesn't have to rush off to the airport. He can just focus on playing for Bermuda, just help get this team to the World Cup. As Nikhil Dutta comes on.
Oh yeah, Nikhil Dutta employing that Sunil Narain, Sikandar Raza tactic. He may call it the Dutta tactic of hiding that ball away behind the back. Something we're seeing off spinners or mystery spinners with their finger spin do a little bit more. He's much slower through the air, isn't he? Significantly slower than Harsh Thakur, and the two should bowl in tandem nicely together.
Yeah, very different style of off spin. Harsh Thakur bowls quite quickly through the air. Nikhil Dutta has always been somebody who flights it an awful lot more. Has bowled that Narain-style carom ball. And Dusra. Somebody who came up through the Canada under-19 setup, under-15 setup. He's been in the system for 15 years now.
Big appeal. Given not out, and maybe just a few verbals from the crowd for the first time. I'm not sure if Shamantha Wijeratne is the most popular keeper. In fact, the most popular Canadian player. He's getting a little bit of jip.
They don't stay quiet here in Bermuda. If they don't like what they see on the field, they'll let you hear it. For the home team and the away team. The home team isn't holding up their end of the bargain, though. They'll get some stick from the crowd, too.
Yeah, but immediately you saw the difficulty in sweeping on this wicket. It feels very much like a wicket where spin is going to dominate. It's slow, it's sticky. It's difficult to get the pace you'd like to work with. And they've come in good colour. It's all of their support It does look tricky against spin. Canada just dragging this back after that Leverock blitz.
And the crowd here never short of coming up with some interesting words. Lenny, 4 years ago, was right over there on that side of the field. That's where somebody shouted out to me, "This guy looks like a goddamn octopus." I had my camera in hand. I was trying to do commentary while taking photos at the same time. I was keeping score. Had my white, not my white. I've got a white notepad here today because I've left my notepad at home. My yellow legal pad that I keep score on. I was juggling all of them, and then that guy shouted out what he said, and it stuck.
Yeah, for those who don't know what Peter Della Penna is talking about there, I often don't, but sometimes I'll try and translate. Get to the end of that 8th over. It's 67 for 2 now. Single to close things out. Leverock will keep the strike. Yeah, Peter Della Penna, a man who wears many hats, often doing 3 or 4 or 5 jobs at the one time. So Peter Della Penna, christened the octopus here. That's the Canada lineup. That's who we have for them with the bat. The one that we are really excited to see, we both know Pupadu Dasanayaka very well from our respective times in the United States and Nepal, where he is coached with great distinction. And the player he's told us to watch is Pargat Singh, just 20, 21 years of age, and a very hard-hitting batter towards the top of the order. Aaron Johnson, too, impressive during the GT20 in Canada. But from the first look of this Whitehill Field wicket, any score above even the sort of 140 marker could be pretty competitive, could be pretty challenging, as what looked like a certain single is turned down by Rollins at the non-striker's end. A slight mix-up between the two left-handers.
I'm not sure what Rollins is looking at. He's kind of leaning on his bat at the other end. That was an easy single.
This phase of any T20I, let alone the conditions we're talking about that are tricky against spinners, it tends to be a very difficult one for batters to know what to do. In those first 6 overs of the power play, you're going all-out blitz, you're going hell for leather, you're trying to get as many as you can. But overs 7 through 11, maybe 12 in particular, they can be tricky. Do you stick or do you twist? Rollins off to a slow start, and Leverock just slowing down. Canada dragging it back, Peter.
And again, it's just through spin. Like I said, I feel Harsh Tucker is a pivotal player for Canada. He's doing a really good job here.
He's also bowling his 4 straight through, something you certainly don't see in the higher echelons of T20I cricket. You do see it sometimes in associate cricket, but he's bowled that nicely. He just kept him going, the captain.
And you can put pressure on just by the speed that you bowl your overs, too. He bowls quick in between balls.
The remarkable thing about his spell, his first over went for 9 runs. They stuck with him. And since then, his 16 deliveries have gone for just 5. Little momentum shifts like this, so critical in T20Is. Bermuda still well set. They'll be thinking of 150. They probably would have taken that at the start, given they lost the toss, given how sticky that wicket is. And we think that's going to close out Thacker's spell. 5 singles come from the remaining 5 deliveries. He's going to finish with 1 for 16. Excellent figures from him. With 9 overs gone, score 73 for 2.
Harsh Tucker ends 1 for 16 and 4. And again, it started off with a 6, so basically 23 balls after that, concedes just 10 runs. Really phenomenal from Tucker. Just the one mistake. And now Dutta continues. Takes out Curtin on the sweeper boundary for 1.
Yeah, the third of the spinners are very likely to see the captain, Sad bin Safar. Did see him, I think if I remember correctly, back in Antigua 2 years ago. think we saw him tend to bowl the death overs. With the return of Nikhil Dutta, they do have those 3 spin options. This bin Safar, someone who does have that experience down in the Caribbean Premier League as well, playing with both the St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots, the St. Lucia Zooks. But he was very good throughout the GT20 Canada for the national side, picking up 5 wickets in total. He's an excellent operator, good with the bat too.
And he's turned Michael Jordan. He used to wear number 86 for Canada. He's showing up wearing number 23 in this tournament. And as the captain, he's a superstar out in the field. He's listed as number 10 on our sheet. His Leverock brings up a half century. Just a polite raise of the bat to the crowd. And he's got bigger things in store. Bongi, 50 off 27. Could be in pursuit of a second T20I century today, Lenny.
Yeah, it's his 3rd T20I 50 to go alongside that century we brought you from Buenos Aires. He's batted beautifully. It's Delray Rowland's numbers. He's got off to a slightly tardy start. But it's been all about this man, Leverock. As Rowlands gets into the act now too. He says, I can sweep on this surface. He gets his first boundary. Bermuda, maybe with these two, particularly if these two are still there in the 20th over, they'll be thinking of much more than 150.
This is his best shot. This is his bread and butter. A sweep and the reverse sweep. He goes both ways, depending on which way the ball's turning. This time he goes the orthodox way through wide long on.
Oh, and Fortune this time. Going to get an outside edge that will sprint away for 4. Jeremy Gordon's long legs can't cut that one off. And a little salvo, back-to-back boundaries, gets us to the halfway stage. And Bermuda, well, they're in a very, very good position thanks to these two primarily. Bermuda, 84 for 2.
They don't have the depth necessarily that Canada has batting-wise, but what power they do have, they don't hold it back. They only know one way to go, full speed ahead. And it's serving them well right now, 84 for 2. Canada knows they just need to get these 2 wickets and they'll be on top, but easier said than done at the moment, as we are going to see Dilpreet Bajwa come on, also to bowl spin. So 4 options here for Canada. He's making his T20I debut today, Bajwa. Off spinner, 22 years old. Played for Montreal Tigers in the GT20.
He primarily played as a batter in that GT20. Bowled on 2 occasions. When he went wicketless, very nearly picks up a wicket with his first ball in international cricket. Nice to see Canada promoting youth, the 22-year-old Bajwa and the 20-year-old Pargat Singh, both getting their opportunity.
It's always been a hallmark of Pubadu Desanayaka's coaching regimes wherever he's been around the world. He's a big promoter of youth. He wants to get fresh legs, fresh blood in the team. He's somebody who believes it's important, especially on the fielding side, to get fresh energy in there. Remember in the USA setup, he was somebody who got Kareem Agor into the side.
Well, it might have been thrown a little bit of a curveball by the esteemed Pubadu Desanayaka. He did tell me Pargat Singh was 21-22 at the middle this morning. We actually have him listed as 31 years of age, so we'll get that checked as always.
Maybe you need your ears, Queen Lenny. 21, 31, they might sound the same.
Pretty sure he said youngster. Maybe 31's a youngster.
It's all relative. Yeah. When you're Pubadu and you're in your 50s.
Yeah, true that. I'm gonna get this checked though, just to make sure we're talking about the same guy. It is the youngster though, Badua, who's got his opportunity on debut. Started nicely. Looks like a pretty classical off-spin action. Why is it that off-spin is right arm off-spin, that is, that I'm talking about, it has somewhat gone out of the game at the very higher echelons? That's going to be monstrous down the ground. Probably about 55 metres straight, and that's sailed over the rope. Leverock, well, he's the man at the moment for Bermuda. Another maximum for him.
Well, this is now his third highest score in T20 eyes as Bonky goes boom again. Straight down the ground here at Somerset Bridge. Coming into today, 103 off 58 balls against Panama and 97 off 56 balls against Argentina, both in Buenos Aires this past February. And then after that, 54 against Panama and Coolidge. That was at the same qualifier in 2021 at the old Stanford ground. So this is now surpassed that. He's on 58. His previous best coming into today against Canada was 33 in T20 eyes.
Oh, glorious. Very, very special from Kamau Leverock. Speared in flat and quick from Badua. Canada, well, they're under all sorts of pressure here. Score is soared to 98 for 2 at the end of the 11th over. We thought the spinners are just going to start reining it back, but I think they bowled too quickly almost through the air, particularly Badua there. And Leverock, well, the impact of this innings, it cannot be overstated.
We've seen that action replay almost consistently for the last 50 minutes of play. It's been quite extraordinary seeing how Bermuda has been able to operate here. The opening morning of play. Yeah, 33 was his best against Canada, and that was here. Same ground, August 2019 at the qualifier 4 years ago. As Rollins destroys this into a fold-away chair over deep square leg. Get the hard hats out, Lenny!
Well, an excellent stroke and evasive action taken up in the crowd. Don't think she ever really looked like catching it. It was definitely one to get out of the way of. Such was the power and precision that it was hit with by Delray Rawlins.
That umbrella in the hand, it's a sunbrella today. The sun is out. Might need to use that umbrella to be like the Penguin from the old Batman comics. You get that umbrella to just deflect the ball away for safety.
Hidden away outside the off stump this time. Rawlins frustrated with himself for not getting something on it. Well, game day 1 here in Bermuda, and the hosts are making a statement. Already bringing the 100 up inside 12 overs. We felt it could be low scoring fair on a difficult, sticky wicket, but they are tearing up any of our pre-match assessments, Peter. And no surprise to either of us, though, that it's our two players to watch. We called them out in the pre-match analysis. Delray Rawlins, the captain, and Kamau Leverock, who I think you have felt in particular for an awfully long time, Peter. He's capable of playing at any level. As Rawlins gets this inside out over extra off the back foot, going to be 4 more. This is an exhibition. Bermuda very much moving into the ascendancy now.
Well, when these two sides played on this very same ground 4 years ago, Bermuda was all out for 116. Delray Rawlins, Golden Duck, Kamau Leverock, 33 off 34. This is night and day compared to 2019. Bermuda is just on fire right now. These two, that pink is turning into a fiery red.
Well, I got to give you the shout from one of our assembled photojournalists here. Payback was the shout, payback. And there is very hearty laughs right now in a somewhat patriotic and rightly patriotic gathered press corps. They're delighted with their start, as are the home fans. Peter, you talk about the talent and potential of these two in particular. They would be fitting additions to any World Cup.
Well, especially Leverock. I feel like he's been kind of hidden away. He's one of the best kept secrets in associate cricket. Anybody who follows associate cricket knows who he is, but kind of to the broader world, it's really unfortunate that he hasn't gotten more opportunities in the franchise circuit because of shots like this. I'll pick up just one for it, but he middles the ball so well. When he times it, it just flies off the bat, hits it so sweetly. We'll see him bowl medium pace later on. He can zip it in there when he's bending his back. He can bump some people, Lenny.
Beats him this time. A little flatter through the air from Nikhil Dutta. It's the end of the 12th over. 12 runs come from that one. The score 110 for 2. Still no Sad bin Safar. Peter, I know it's only game day 1, but we're already got to have a discussion about matchups. Are we seeing the term matchups again rear its head? There's 2 left-handers at the crease together. Is this why the captain is not bowling himself with that left arm spin, turning the ball into them?
It's really the only legitimate reason why we haven't seen him. And now we're going to see Nicholas Curtin come on. Curtin, dual national, Bayesian Canadian. Has played in the CPL as well as for Canada. And after a certain point in time, though, Lenny, you have to ask, is the quote-unquote matchup avoidance doing more harm than good? Sad bin Safar, he's a 4-over bowler.
Well, this for me makes no sense. And rightly being punished. Cut away for 4. Short, wide. Nicholas Curtin, he's never bowled in international cricket. There's a World Cup spot on the line here. Where exactly are Canada's minds at right now? You've got one of the best bowlers in the associate game in Sad bin Safar, the captain of Canada. He's yet to bowl. They turn to the part-time off breaks of Nicholas Curtin. He's never bowled in international cricket, and he's punished immediately. What are we witnessing here?
Well, we'll have a look here. This may have been a miss. No, this is the boundary we're going to see. First ball.
Well, just back live with you now, Peter. Not exactly sure how. They've ended up running a single there, and I think they've got through for an overthrow. We're going to have to get those graphics corrected. And it's also all given as runs, so that indicates it was a drop catch. You've seen a rather remarkable passage of play. We were busy wondering, was it a drop catch or not? And they've somehow skirted back for a second.
Yeah, it was a thin edge put down by the wicketkeeper, went to third. And Aaron Johnson, not sure what happened, how that one missed out, as we're seeing Rollins triangle big. Here's the second ball of the over. Definite edge. You can't really call that a drop. Went off the shoulder.
Yeah, remarkably, they somehow got back for 2 with an overthrow. Curtin refuses to deliver that one. Yeah, heard some discussion on it recently. I think it was that's going to be 6, and very nearly into our hands, about 5 yards across to our left. We'll give the cameras a wave there, Peter. That one is 6 more.
Well, you said Nicholas Curtin had never bowled over in international cricket before this, Lenny, and it sure looks like it based on what he's done here. Almost every ball has been a half tracker. He's just bowled short, short, and shorter. And this one goes long, long, and longer over the long on boundary. Yeah. As Lenny, never shy of the camera, lets everybody know it, watching on ICC TV around the world.
You got to give the people a wave. No need for a bow today. I didn't take that catch.
You don't need to wave for people to see you, Lenny. They can pick you out with your shiny dome.
This could be a chance. Long off, runs in, and it goes over his head. Kaleem Sana has completely misjudged that. Nicholas Curtin's first over in international cricket has gone for 19. The wheels, well, they are well and truly off right now for Canada. Bermuda all over their opposition.
You can tell Kaleem Sana's never played here before because that was 6 all the way. I don't know what he was thinking running in, thinking it had a chance of catching that. The ground and the boundaries are so short here. As soon as they came off the bat, even though it was mishit, definitely not off the middle. He spliced it, but the bats these days, Lenny, ensure that that one was going to clear the boundary with ease.
A big shout out to the ICC Americas team, Esteban Billy McDermott, who's joined their staff alongside Farah Gorzi, the regional development manager, Andrea Hufford as well, who's not actually here this time. Our thanks to them as always. They do an excellent job at times, Peter, in this region, this third of the world, if you will. See that kid's getting autographs from that player. You often are playing in what can be deemed as more difficult cricketing facilities to set up to get them to an international standard. I know there are now stadia coming up, particularly in America. We just saw these two kids out in the sideline. They got an autograph right in the middle of the game, and look at how chuffed he is. Absolutely love to see that.
Pargat Singh, popular. The 31-year-old, Lenny.
I can confirm he is 31. We got that checked, yes. The evergreen young Pargat Singh making a youngster's day. We just keep zooming out there. There is Pargat on the left. And he obliged with the autograph. As Canada, well, they don't know where to turn right now. They're going to turn back to pace. Left arm seamer Kalim Sana will come into the attack. Return to the attack for his third over. Going to scamper through for a quick single. I think he would have just got there. Leverock had to get the afterburners on. But yeah, given as a leg bye, particular credit to the Americas team, the ICC Americas team, because there are times in this third of the world where it can be difficult to get venues set up to an international quality.
Bermuda, it's a very unique setup. There's not a lot of permanent infrastructure in the grounds here, but they get creative to ensure that we've got an operating, functional setup here. And with the atmosphere on, not far from the beaches off Middle Road and going near the dockyard and Somerset Bridge, and we've got just a beautiful setup here at Somerset Bridge Cricket Club in White Hill Field. And the fans lining the boundary, just great atmosphere.
Well, that's spectacular. Flamboyance and quality from Delray Rollins. Hasn't quite gone all the way for 6. Will only get 4, but there was shades of Kevin Peterson in that, wasn't there? The way he walked down at the pace bowler and slapped it away like a peacock, maybe like a flamingo in pink. Rollins, the captain, gets another boundary.
Well, he's passed 700 runs in T20I cricket during the course of this innings, and shots like that show you why he has been on the county scene for as long as he has with Sussex and potentially a new county in the start of 2024.
Full toss helped away. There's protection out there. It'll just be a single, well watched in the deep. Yeah, his numbers in the domestic game in England probably didn't maybe show just how brilliant a player he was across 37 first-class games and 20 List A contests. Some of those will have been for Bermuda as well, averaging 23, 28 with the bat in those two formats, and then 31 wickets at 73 in first-class cricket and 17 wickets at 39. He's a much better player than that, isn't he? You and I have seen him quite a lot on the associate circuit. When he's at his best, there may be no more fluent and all-rounder than Bermuda's captain.
Well, and he was arguably the player of the tournament for Bermuda 4 years ago here. On the opening day of the tournament, scored 63 off 53 balls, took 1 for 26 with the ball, and then had 2 sensational catches on the boundary, one of them a leaping effort that saved 6 in a match that Bermuda won by 6 runs. So he literally single-handedly won the match against USA on the opening day, and that set up Bermuda's pathway to Dubai for the global qualifier. And again, as a reminder to people, that regional qualifier in the Americas set up 2 teams to advance to the global qualifier in Dubai. This time around, there is no global qualifier. So if Bermuda were to advance from here, it wouldn't be going on to Dubai to a global qualifier. They'd advance straight to the T20 World Cup in the USA and West Indies for the first time in their history.
It'll be a second World Cup appearance, but a first T20 World Cup appearance for Bermuda. And they're looking pretty. They're looking pretty in pink right now to do that. Floods into the pad, angling down, says Jacqueline Williams. That one will have stung Delray Rawlins. He's frustrated he didn't hit it. And you pointed out a few key differences from that event 4 years ago. Firstly, it was 2 qualifiers at that point, but that was to the global qualifier out in the UAE, where again, probably Bermuda didn't do themselves justice, I felt, in the United Arab Emirates, having done so well here on home soil. The fact that it's a direct qualifier to the World Cup now, but also the big difference too, no USA here. The reason for that, USA have a place automatically as one of the 2 co-hosts for the event in less than 12 months' time, about 9 months' time to that event. Inside edge through to the keeper, tied over, just 6 runs off the bat come from it. We're going to get that corrected. We currently have that being bowled by Pargat Singh. It was in fact Kaleem Sana, the left-arm seamer, who bowled that over. His 3rd, so our graphics team will work on getting that back together. Let me ask you about USA. USA obviously delighted, ecstatic to be hosting that tournament. We saw the 3 venues announced, but they do miss out on being here at this qualifier. They haven't played much cricket of late since not qualifying in Zimbabwe for the 50-over World Cup qualifier. They don't really have anything scheduled in, so they will play in their first World Cup next year, but not playing too much cricket right now.
Well, this is something I talked to Scotland about in the past, Kyle Kutzer and Richie Barrington. The fact that you're not in the qualifier, does that actually hurt you? Because if you play in the global qualifier, you've got 6-7 guaranteed games. And if you're Namibia or if you're Scotland in the past or Netherlands, who qualifies as a straight shot to the World Cup, you miss out on all those qualifying games, which are great preparation. As Saad bin Zafar, we are going to finally see him come in. He can be held back no longer, wearing number 23. He threw you for a googly earlier, Lenny. I said he was wearing shirt number 23. You were looking at me like a crazy person because on the team sheet he's listed as number 10. They keep us on our toes, the Canadians. They do things a little bit different up north of the border.
Well, he was late to the toss as well this morning, wasn't he? 9 a.m. Remember, we toss an hour before for all of these pathway events for the ICC. It's a full toss, and that's going to be given the treatment, and rightly so. Rawlins really starting to come into his own and gets a big clap of the bat from his partner Leverock. This is an outstanding partnership. Is this taking the game away from Canada? One captain smashes the other for 6.
Well, again, this is his career best against Canada, coming into today, best of 38. That happened in Coolidge in Antigua in 2021 against this opposition. And now he's going to get a single to bring up his 6th career half-century. So Rawlins, just a gentle tap of the bat and tapping the bat, pointing to the team bench and acknowledging the crowd around the ground. Delray Rawlins with his 6th career T20 IF50. His first, though, against Canada. And he had magic in his bat 4 years ago on this ground against USA. He's got plenty of magic here today again. 4 4s and 4 6s off 27 balls. Phenomenal so far. And now this one muscled past Bajwa. It's going to beat the diving effort to go for a boundary for Leverock. So Zafar, the Canadian captain, greeted already with a double-digit over, and there's still 2 balls to go. Now the captain is having a chat with Vijay Ratney and Navneet Dhaliwal, the former captain for Canada, trying to come up with an answer here. They haven't had anything remotely close to an answer as of yet.
I was born in Canada.
An hour and 8 minutes into play is another full toss, and this time called a wide. It was just out of reach, and that just shows how rattled Canada is right here. The captain bowling around the wicket and zings a full toss way outside off stump. Canada really, really struggling here as Bongi tries to go big, but only manages to pick out Paragat Singh, who's not bowling, Lenny. He's fielding on the boundary.
Well, we've just got that confirmed, and our scoring team as 150 comes up will kindly correct that for us. Our thanks to them as always.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were certain it was Cali Msana bowling that left arm seam. Kindly, the Canadian team also confirmed that for us on the sidelines.
Well, and if there was any doubt, if you were paying attention to the relay at home, you saw him throw it right-handed as well.
I also don't think Paragat Singh bowls, or certainly doesn't bowl much anyway. So,
And if he does bowl, he definitely doesn't do it left-handed. We know that much as well.
he actually does bowl a few off breaks, apparently, right arm off breaks. But yeah, we'll get those bowling figures updated. We'll bring them to you now. As that's nicely bowled, the leading edge is going to skew away for a single. Rawlins and Leverock, well, they're changing this game single-handedly. They came together with the score at 62 for 2. They put on 90 together now. It's 152 for 2 with 5 overs remaining.
The message is being delivered, Lenny. The message. Grandmaster Flash delivers one kind of message, the ground DJ, and another message being delivered by Rawlins and Leverock. They're sending a message that they're disturbing the Canadian bowling figures all day long. We've seen 7 options used, and with the exception of Harsh Tucker, nobody else has been able to find a message in response for Canada, Lenny.
Talk me through the Grandmaster Flash, Peter.
This is one of the iconic rap songs in history, Lenny. Have you been living under a rock for the last 39 years of your life?
I know Grandmaster Flash, but I just don't think I know them as well as you.
Well, it's an iconic song. That is the song. That's the rap song that spawned a million rappers going forward in history.
Yeah, sensational sample on it. Next level. Yeah, Canada right now at 6s and 7s. They need to find their tune with the bat, you would think, to have any chance of chasing this down. We feel this is well above par. They're already going at 10 and over. We thought they were thinking about 150, 160. Anything shy of 200 now will be a disappointment as this one turns sharply and the gloves of Wijayaratne not able to cut it off, given as a bye. Rawlins, Leverock, the class acts, maybe not just of this Bermuda team. Are they the class acts of indeed all 4 teams are going to see in action here? This one down the ground and all the way into the side screen. 6 more. Leverock, well, he is now thinking very much of that second T20 I100. And what a way to announce himself into this tournament. You've always been a big fan, Peter. This is Leverock at his best.
Boom. Bongi, watch out, cameraman. Is that Mosin up there? Who's up there over the side screen down there?
Well, we've got a great crew with us here. This one, is there a feather of an edge? There is. Leverock walks, doesn't even wait for Jacqueline Williams' decision. And just as he was starting to think of that century, Bajwa has a first T20I wicket, a first international wicket to his name. He's been expensive, but he just dragged his length back a little bit better. There is turn and offer, and Leverock devastated to trudge off for what's been an outstanding, a sensational, a sublime 83.
Well, fantastic from Bongi. Tame end to a fiery innings. Half tracker really should have been smashed away. And just instead it gets a toe edge on it, and he's really frustrated with himself. He knows he could have kept going, but as said, Lenny, that partnership between Leverock and Rawlins was going to determine the fate for Bermuda more than likely, and they've put the home side in position for what could be an incredible first day win here. like I said 4 years ago, the scorecard was grim for Bermuda between these two sides on the island. And on this occasion, instead of being bowled out for 116, they've zoomed past that, and there's still another 25 balls to go.
Zico Burgess, the all-rounder, to the crease, who we should see bowl at pretty good pace as well. Impressed with him. He's done a lot of work on his strength and conditioning. He's fearsome fast bowler. And I'm not sure that the Canadian keeper, Shamantha Wijeratne, is endearing himself to anyone, celebrating every ball. Maybe just pleased he's gloving them cleanly. A dot ball to end the 16th. It's exactly 10 and over that Bermuda are going at. Badua does have his first international wicket. Bermuda, 160 for 3. Always nice to hear from you all on social media. Plenty of people getting in touch. Nice to hear from the 852 podcast. He says, if Bermuda isn't the most wonderful place on earth, I'm not sure what is. A moped down Front Street and beyond is a life must do. And now Leverock going ballistic. Watch out for the mopeds. You can get in touch, of course, with either Peter Della Penna directly on Twitter, at Peter Della Penna, or me, Andrew Leonard. You can get me at Cricket Badge on Twitter or Instagram. As Burgess looks to go very big. And Saad bin Safar will continue. He'll be much happier now bowling to the right-handed Burgess. Burgess surely has a job to get Rawlins onto strike and not much else. And that's what he's going to do. Yeah, do get in touch. Let us know where you're watching from, if you're enjoying the coverage, and who you feel may be the most likely to take this one qualification spot.
You still haven't been to Front Street yet, Lenny. Nope. Down in Hamilton. Ooh, wow. You're in for a treat.
What is it, Peter?
Front Street. Front Street's Front Street, Lenny.
Edged away and edged over the head of the man at short third. Fortune this time for Rawlins, but he threw everything at it. And so far, he's going so flat. We've seen any of the spinners who've bowled quicker have tended to be punished, and 4 more to the total.
This is what happens when you bowl with the pace on the ball that Zuffer does. Zips it in very quick, so a thick edge like this is going to carry on with the pace to backspin it high over Johnson at short third.
You talk about adjusting to the conditions and the importance of that in cricket. It doesn't feel to me like Canada, both through their captaincy in the way Zafar is chosen as bowlers and indeed then their execution of their bowling options, they haven't read the conditions well to start this competition.
Yeah, if they wind up losing this game, there's going to be a lot of questions asked about strategically what went into this first innings. Specifically, that over that Nicholas Curtin bowled. Why is he bowling when you've got the captain who's a 4-over bowler? And I know, yeah, they had 2 left-handers in at the crease, but there's no law that prohibits a left-arm spinner from bowling to left-handers, Lenny.
Cleans him up, and Zafar strikes. There's a bit of niggle out there, particularly between the two captains. Zafar immediately almost celebrates into the face of Delray Rawlins. And look at this. It's now going on. Rawlins is pointing back at Canada's captain. He's saying, you talk now. All happening to start the tournament.
These teams know each other well, Lenny. We'll say that. And it's only going to get spicier as the day goes on. And Zuffer gets Burgess with a heave across the line. Top of the stumps. And Saad. There's been plenty of chat between the two of them. And a bit more body language beyond the chat.
Peter, you know how much cricket I watch and how much I get to commentate on. I have never seen a bowler give a non-striker a send-off. I've seen a bowler give the batter a send-off. How do you give the non-striker a send-off? How does that work?
Sudman's effort just showed us how it works, Lenny. And you just wonder, with 3 overs to go, did he kick a hornet's nest there? Is he poking the bear, Lenny?
Well, this is one of the things I love about the ICC pathway events. You see things you may have never seen before, and I have certainly never seen that. What about you at home? Have you ever seen something like that before? For me, it's a little bit close to over the line as well. We'll leave that in the hands of Mr. Rion King, the ICC match referee. You can celebrate your own performance joyously and within the spirit of the game. It is day one. We've got to mention for the spirit of the game. I'm not sure you can turn to the opposite number, the captain of the other team, and go right up in his face. Certainly shows how much is on the line here in Bermuda. A direct qualification for the World Cup as Jeremy Gordon returns. He's bowled 2 overs for 37, make that 38 with a wide down the leg side. Rawlins is going to go after him.
And the problem with Gordon on the ground like this, he bowls quick. He's going to be one of the quickest bowlers in this tournament, but if the radar is off, the ball disappears even quicker. And he's bowled 2 poor overs so far. And if Rawlins has been stirred up by Zuffer at the end of the previous over, we could see some more fireworks here in the final 18 balls.
Rawlins is going to throw everything at it, that is for certain. Goes straight down the ground. What an elegant stroke that is. We'll only get 1. It just holds up in the turf a little. But it does give you an idea of just how much is on the line. Players playing out for the hopes, the dreams of themselves, their families and their countries. You talk about Bermuda in particular, Peter. Such a culture of cricket on this island. Every taxi that we've been in, every local that we've met has been talking about the competition. Really good crowd to get the first day of the tournament going. And direct qualification. Every region will be represented. It's the 3rd of the 5 regional finals. We've seen Ireland and Scotland get through Edinburgh. We saw Papua New Guinea dominate down in Port Moresby, getting past the Philippines and Vanuatu. This could be taken, put down. Tough chance out at deep mid-wicket. Made good ground to it. But Pargat Singh could not hold on.
Again, the boundaries are short here, so you hit it flat, and it's going to carry awfully quickly. Pargat Singh out of deep mid-wicket. That was just a simple flick, but very flat. Didn't have a long time to cover the ground. And he lays out, got fingertips to it. I don't think he got 2 hands to it, just the 1 hand, the right hand in the end, and it was going to stick or it wasn't. Right in front of that blue retaining wall here, protecting middle road.
This one's helped away into the hitting arc and up onto the bank for 6 more. Really not sure that Saad bin Safar has done the right thing here by stoking up an already fired up Delray Rawlins. He goes for another maximum into the 60s now. Bermuda hunting down 200 plus.
Another big one for Rawlins. Takes him to 63, and I feel like he's just getting warmed up.
That one's kept a little low. I think for me, Peter, the most remarkable thing about this innings, there's been turn on offer. There's been some occasionally inconsistent bounce. It is not a batter's paradise out there, but Bermuda have found a way to score it up towards 10 and over.
Well, the lengths have been poor. You got to say, a lot of short bowling. A lot of the 6s. Again, it's too short, too full. Too short. We've seen a lot of 6s disappear onto the grass bank, and we've seen even more 6s disappear straight down the ground and some full tosses. Straight down the ground, as they're just going to fetch a single for this one. Oh, Dhaliwal, that's poor. Canada has not been anywhere close to their best, and not only does it allow a second run there, the misfield by the former Canada captain at long on, but it means that Rawlins keeps the strike, and every time he clears the rope, Lenny, we could see a wink and a nod out to number 23, wherever he's fielding. At the moment, it's at extra cover.
You have to remember the structure of this tournament. 4 teams, double round robin. Everyone plays 6 matches. You can't really afford to get off to a slow start. Rawlins very cleverly happy to take the single. This may set up the matchup for the 19th over that everyone's going to be wanting to watch. Will Sad bin Safar continue? Rollins will certainly be on strike. It's another expensive over from Gordon. He's gone for 49 in just 3. Bermuda, 178 for 4. This has been an exceptional batting effort. But that structure, that format to the way this competition works, Peter, if you lose your first game, and Bermuda got past their lower ranked opposition then in the Cayman Islands and in Panama, it means that Canada would have to beat Bermuda in the reversal game, and then it would come down to net run rate with both sides having won 5 matches. Obviously, there's a lot of cricket to be played, but you cannot afford a slow start.
It's not just losing by a heavy margin. You never know. Scoreboard pressure. If Canada is forced to go at 10 and over for the entirety of this chase, it could be really more than they're capable of.
Just to give you an idea of the scale of how big an upset this would be, yes, Canada haven't played since T20 cricket since November last year in Oman, but they're ranked 19th in the world. Bermuda are all the way down at 32nd. 13 places separate these sides. Gone. And ironically, it's straight to the captain. It goes straight to Sad bin Safar. He didn't take the ball himself, and Rollins wants nothing to do with it. He stares down at the toe of the bat and nothing else. Safar, they gave him a healthy glare, but no more. All is fair in love and war. And ironically, bin Safar does catch his opposite number. Rollins is gone, but what an impact he's had. 66.
Was just keeping an eye on that whole sequence as you were summing it up, Lenny, just to see if anything would happen as Rollins walked past Zuffer. The Canada captain, simple catch it, chest height. This was blazed off the bat. He smoked this right off the middle, but straight to the Canada captain. 3 yards either side of him, and it was 4. Zuffer, this time, doing his speaking with his catching, as Dominic Sabir is going to walk out to the middle with 11 balls to go. So Sabir, who's somebody who's an excellent fielder, didn't really get too many opportunities to show what he can do with the bat in his previous appearances for Bermuda. Coming into this game, he's got 9 appearances, just 2 innings, 14 runs off of 13 balls. This is his 10th match for Bermuda. Primarily, he's been used as, I don't want to say a fielding specialist, but he's got an awful lot of appearances without many opportunities to bat. So his value in the past has been with his fielding, and we'll see if that turns out to be the case later on today.
Beautifully bowled round the wicket, straight into middle stump, and Canada, for them to have any chance, they're going to need to take the momentum in, and right now they're doing that. First time in the innings they've really had any joy. Back-to-back wickets. Sana picks up 2 and 2. He'll be on a hat-trick. It was full, it was straight, and it proved unplayable.
Bullseye right on off stump there, and like I said, Lenny, Dominic Sabir's value primarily with his fielding, and that was highlighted with his inability to keep out the Yorker there. Don't expect him to bowl later on either. He's only bowled 3 overs in his T20I career, but he's a young guy. He's only 20 years old. He's got a lot of energy in the field. Many trots in the island. Our taxi driver is a trot, Paul Trot. We got Charles Trot. Seen Rodney Trot in the past for Bermuda. There's a proud athletic tradition for the trots in the island.
Got to give Paul Trot a shout out. What a legend of a man. He's been looking after us all over the place. Brought us yesterday to our very beautiful round of golf at the Port Royal Golf Course just across the road.
And he supplied you with an outstanding set of clubs, Lenny.
This is just the way it rolls on the island. It's the kind of hospitality you get. Now, Canada have never had a T20I hat-trick. There's been 52 in history. Are we about to witness number 53? Here comes Kaleem Sana. Oh, so close. It was full enough, but not quite straight enough. As Trot can't get anything on it, and Bermuda, that over-reliance, if you will, on Leverock and Rollins, you're seeing it here. Nothing doing for the middle lower order. And the run's just drying up entirely.
And Charles Trot making his T20I debut here.
Oh, that's a stump breaker. A beauty from Kaleem Sana. It's 3 wickets and 4 deliveries. And look at that, mangled to pieces. Split right in half. Going to be work to do for the umpiring team. The middle stump, not just out of the ground, but snapped in two.
Well, that's a 50-pointer if I've ever seen one, Lenny. In case there was any doubt about whether or not this one hit the bullseye on the dartboard, the evidence is all right there. Middle of middle. And is that Alan Douglas Sr.? I'm trying to get a close look to see who's out there on the ground staff to try and get a replacement stump in there. That's his assistant.
Well, here's a look at the replay. You talk about a beautiful in-swinging Yorker. That's close to unplayable. And brilliant work from the camera team to show the stump not just being knocked out, but being split in two. The middle of middle was impacted. Let's hope they've got more than one spare stump, Peter.
Oh, boy. Something you don't see every day. You can be assured of that. Well, this is remarkable fight back from Canada, led by Kaleem Sana.
Comes Smith, the keeper. Sinclair Smith, who's going to get a full toss to get off the mark. 3 wickets in the over, 4 in total. Amongst the wreckage of the Canadian bowling figures, it's really just the two, Harsh Thacker and Kaleem Sana, that can hold their heads high.
Charles Trot, he's not going to be putting that on his Instagram story, Lenny. Debut innings, last just 2 balls. He's going to have to bide his time to get the social media content. It's going to be getting plenty of likes and shares.
Well, a final delivery for Kaleem Sana of his 4-over allocation. He's been outstanding. Can he pick up a 5-wicket haul? Floods into the pad, probably just going to angle down, and the Canadians are too busy appealing to notice that they'll scamper through for a leg by. What a spell of bowling. 4 for 23 he's going to finish with. They are career best figures in T20 international cricket. Sensational from the left armour.
So yeah, 4 for 23. As we had an island time signal for leg by, Lenny, on that occasion. Just a bit casual, getting it out there.
Well, I think the reason it was signaled as a leg by is, very cleverly, the bowler said, well, hold on, umpire, I'm okay with it being not out, but you're not going to give a run against my name as well, are you? And it is correctly given as a leg by. So just the 1 run off the bat from that over, 3 wickets to go with it, including the big one of Delray Rollins. It means that Jeremy Gordon will be a bit less threatened in this final over. He's already gone for 49. And he looks a bit more comfortable now against the lower order. Bermuda's lack of depth, it's quite noticeable, Peter, in terms of their batting stocks in particular.
And Douglas here. Fourth leading scorer in T20Is for Bermuda, 327 runs coming into today, an average of 23.35, but more or less, once you get past Rollins and Leverock, it tails off dramatically.
And you can see again why an audible yelp of despair from Douglas. He's gone as well. This innings is collapsing in a heap right now.
I didn't know despair was spelled with 4 letters, Lenny. I thought it was 7. You yelled something. I know that much. Not quite repeatable on air. Wajirani takes the catch. And Bermuda, I was looking up the records here a few moments ago, Lenny. I thought for certain I was going to have to run off the 200 scores that Bermuda has had. They've had 200 3 times in their history. 2 of them were down in Argentina earlier this year, and once was against Bahamas in Antigua in 2021. I thought this was going to be the 4th. After 18 overs, they were 178 for 4, and then dramatically, things have turned around.
Yeah, so much so that even Jeremy Gordon, who was going around the park at 18 runs per over, or 16 runs per over, is now dragging it back. Dot, wicket, dot. And this will give Canada just a window into the game. I think for me, Bermuda certainly still favourites at the halfway stage.
You never know, Lenny. 2 runs off of the last 9 deliveries. Make it 10. This is not good enough. Derek Brangman, cricket is a bat and ball game. That means you got to use your bat, my friend. Can't be leaving deliveries alone in the 20th over.
Well, yeah, the scorecard is so stark, really, that outside of Kamau Leverock's 83 and Delray Rowland's 66, Trey Mander's the only other batter to make double figures, and barring something exceptional from Brangman, that's going to remain the case. Does get that a bit better. We'll pick up what's just going to be a single into the leg side. Good piece of backing up from the captain. Will keep it to 1. But the remaining scores on the book, Terran Frey with 5, Burgess with 2, Alan Douglas with 1, Ducks for Sabir and Trott. Probably not enough support, really, for Rollins and Leverock.
And literally, that's the difference between Delray Rollins and the middle lower order. If Rollins stays out there and bats the last 12 balls, they could get to 210. He gets out, they're going to struggle to get to 185.
And they're going to try scamper a bye, which Gordon will deprive them of because Smith doesn't even attempt to run it. A rather farcical end to what's been an excellent innings from Bermuda, but they have tailed away horribly, so much so that the last 12 deliveries have yielded just 3 runs and 5 wickets, and it will be a run out that will end things. And Bermuda, well, they'd have been very happy with 181 if you'd offered it to them at the start, having lost the toss, but maybe a little less happy given the position that they were in. A good finish from Canada gives them something to build upon in the second innings.
178 for 4 to 181 for 9. That's not acceptable if you're Bermuda. And it's kind of taken the life out of this crowd. They were making plenty of noise, loving what the home side was producing, especially in that partnership between Leverock and Rollins, which took Bermuda through the majority of their innings. But all of a sudden, the momentum shift in the last 15 minutes here has been shocking.
That's the tail of the tape. Bermuda relying heavily upon T20 I-50s from both Kamau Leverock and the captain Delray Rowlands. The 2 left-handers are outstanding, but very little else to cheer. The bowling figures, 7 of them used. The part-time off-breaks of Nicholas Curtin and Dilpreet Bajwa were expensive, although Bajwa picked up a maiden T20 I wicket. The pick of the bowlers, clearly Harsh Thacker and Kaleem Sana. And as that gets us to the halfway stage of the first game of the tournament, we hope you've enjoyed that coverage. We'll be back with you in about 10 minutes' time with every ball of the chase. Canada, to avoid the upset start to this tournament, they're going to need 182 from their 20 overs. At a shade more than 9 runs and over. We'll see you then. Well, very warm welcome and good morning. Joining us live here from Bermuda, we're at the Whitehill Field for game number 1 of this critical ICC Men's T20 World Cup America's final, supported by Dream 11. We've seen the man on the left of your screen, a star in a big way, Delray Rowlands, alongside Kamea Leverock, has driven Bermuda up to a highly impressive 181. And Canada will need a shade more than 9 runs per over as Aaron Johnson opens the batting alongside the ever consistent Navneet Daliwal. He's at the non-strikers end. Kamea Leverock, who was a top scorer with the bat, is now going to try and impact the game with the ball, bowling his 4 overs of medium fast. We'll get that bit of shape away from the right-handers. He starts right on the money. Andrew Leonard here alongside Peter Della Penna. Peter, we've seen a really entertaining first innings that was really all Bermuda until the very final 2 overs of that first innings. And when Delray Rowlands went back to the hutch, that was that. The tail, well, they folded in a heap. Last 12 balls, just 3 runs coming from them.
It's a bit crazy how sudden it happened. It was all one-way traffic, really, for a good 70 minutes or so, and then all of a sudden, that last sequence of the innings just kind of came out of nowhere. Bongie Leverock, said earlier, his uncle Dwayne famously played for Bermuda in the 2007 World Cup, and his mom, Duan, the twin brother and sister, Dwayne and Duan, also a very talented athlete. People don't know this. Everybody remembers the image of Dwayne Leverock taking that catch in the World Cup. As Leverock beats the outside edge again. Now, Uncle Dwayne, not only was he a cricketer and a police officer for Bermuda, did you know, Lenny, he was a 100-meter sprinter in his youth? People who know him in the cricket world would never believe that he was a 100-meter sprinter. But when he was a teenager, he competed for Bermuda in the Carifta Games. It's track and field event around the Caribbean that leads into kind of the Olympic pathway. He was a 100-meter sprinter, Lenny. Tremendous athlete.
Sprinting's all about power, isn't it? He's got power in spades. And this one's powered down the ground. Good diving stop. Outstanding. Again, Bermuda showing that additional athleticism that they've been working so hard on the last 9 to 12 months. Zico Burgess, good ground to his right and 3 runs saved.
Tremendous athleticism by Burgess, who I have to say has some of the best sunglasses I've ever seen. Zico Burgess. They bring fire everywhere on the field, Bermuda.
Short ball, not the right length. And just helped around the corner by Daliwal. He'll get a boundary to close out the first over. 5 runs come from it. Leverock just indicating he got his wrist behind the left of the ball and it angled down. Daliwal gets off the mark in style.
Yeah, Dwayne Leverock. Big Dwayne. Big Sluggo. Big Sluggo was a 100-meter sprinter, Lenny. Can you believe that?
So a great piece of content put together by the ICC in the build-up to the 50-over World Cup. It is an iconic 50-over World Cup moment, that catch taken at flying in the slip region. One thing I didn't remember about that catch until I saw this piece from the ICC was that he'd actually dropped a similar one earlier in the game, and that was kind of what made it all the more remarkable. And then that iconic David Lloyd commentary to go alongside it.
Well, and it was his weaker hand. He's a left-arm spinner. He took that one diving right. Kind of gets lost in the shuffle as well. Yeah, that catch taken Robin Utaba. Robin Utaba was the opener. Poor guy. Out for 3. Got to see Saurav Ganguly.
Edged and gone. Well, a dream start. CJ Etterbridge. And Rollins at first slip. He was never going to put that down. Aaron Johnson, who's come in with this big reputation. Well, he perishes. The first ball of the second over has the home crowd abuzz again. Big moment in the game.
I talked about 4 years ago, Delroy Rollins was the do-everything man for Bermuda when they advanced out of this qualifier. And he's on the verge of being the do-everything man again today. Outerbridge getting this one on a drivable length, just a little bit of shape away. And feeling for this one, not getting anywhere near with the footwork, and drives for it with kind of limited footwork, carries comfortably to Rollins at head height. So Rollins trying to reprise what he did here in 2019 with his all-around exploits. Bat, bowling, and in the field. Yeah, that match, just to wrap up the point, India-Bermuda in the 2007 World Cup. Robin Otepa out for 3. First ball of the second over, bowled by Malachi Jones, who also went off going crazy with the celebration. And then Saurav Ganguly, 89, Virender Sehwag, 114, Yuvraj Singh, 83 off 46 balls, Sachin, 57 not out off 29. Everybody made merry that day. They made 413 runs, India did, against Bermuda. But yet, the only thing anybody remembers from that match, Lenny, is that sluggo left rock catch.
That's what World Cups for me are all about. Nicholas Curtin to the crease. And we're seeing that right now in the Rugby World Cup, aren't we? Uruguay having their moments in the sun against France. Fiji.
Oh, that Fiji win over Australia. That was something else. That was outstanding to watch. Nicholas Curtin is somebody who, again, is a big reputation, not necessarily backed up by statistics. 6th appearance in T20 I's for Canada. 75 runs in 5 innings.
Tell us a bit more about CJ Etterbridge, Peter, out of international cricket for 5 years. Last played for Bermuda back in 2018. Left arm seamers. Very much what you want, his first ball back in international cricket in 5 years. It's a wicket. What a story. Quick single turned down. Just the 10 appearances for Bermuda, all in 50 over cricket. I think in what was the World Cricket League division structures at that time. Not a bad record. In fact, his last game, 4 for 46. We'll obviously find out more from chatting to the teams, but must have been out of action with whether it be fitness or personal commitments. Looks like a good asset to have coming back into the Bermuda side. He wasn't in Buenos Aires for the sub-regional qualifier.
No, he's been around the scene for a while. He's actually got more than 10 appearances. He was part of the squad. He made his debut against USA in World Cricket League Division 4 in 2016 in Los Angeles. So again, a lot of these guys, they come and go depending on work commitments. It's not easy in Bermuda. Everybody's got to work. Again, most of these guys are amateur players in terms of having to have full-time jobs. And a tight single taken here to get Curtin back on strike. Yeah, you know, these guys, you know, there's one Bermuda player who's a golf pro. You've got guys working in police. You've got guys working in other jobs, guys working as teachers. I mean, they do everything here. And you've only got really 2 semi-professionals, if you will, now, with Rollins not having a Sussex contract anymore, and Levrock, who's regularly played on the club circuit in England and in Australia as an overseas pro to make some money that way. But most of these guys, depending on what they have to do shuffling their work commitments. It's not a given that they're always going to be available. We saw a significant amount of turnover between the squad that appeared in Argentina in here.
Nicely driven, but straight to mid-off. I suppose all those things you're telling us about, it makes the decision from the ICC as we come out of this right cycle. The World Cup, the 50-over World Cup that starts next week in India, is the last event of that cycle. And then from 2024 through to 2031, every single event is expanding. The men's T20 World Cup goes to 20 teams for the first time. It's going to be the largest World Cup of any scale or size at any level. Put down. Really good athletic effort from Leverrock, as you'd expect. It came sharply. He got both hands to it, which was probably the most impressive part, but couldn't quite cling on.
He's got a grin on his face. He's upset with himself because by his standards, he's so athletic, he feels he should have taken this. And that was at a very comfortable catching height. It came at a very firm speed. It was not easy in terms of the speed it came back to him, but that was at a comfortable catching height for Leverrock, and he's really angry with himself that he couldn't hold on. I can't even call that a reflex catch because he moved his hands out for it. It wasn't like it hit his hand. His hand went after the ball, so he was fully coordinated to go in after that effort, and I think that's why he's upset more than anything that it didn't stick.
A great effort. He literally split seconds to deal with there. The reaction time, particularly as a fast bowler, when you're in your full follow-through, very, very short indeed. But if anyone could have taken it, it would have been Leverrock.
If anything, he went too hard at it because the sound that it made off of his hand was such a huge slap. It just was not a soft-handed effort. He almost snatched at it too hard, moving his hands across, and that's why it made such a huge noise coming off his hands. If he was just able to slow his hands down ever so slightly, probably would have stuck.
Bermuda very much on top right now. Canada going to have to get something going in these power play overs. The first 6 overs, just 2 fielders allowed outside the circle. Deep third in place. Deep backward square on the leg side, the 2. Bit more like it. Opens up and accesses the offside. Does get a boundary. And 2 kids have a go at it. One falls over. The other holds firm. And he gets his little moment to throw the ball back in.
He had to put his one cricket ball that he brought to the ground back here. He's playing pepper. We call that pepper in baseball, where you're bouncing the ball against the wall to try and play catch with yourself, and you're kind of scuffing up the grass.
Well, inspiring the next generation to not just play, enjoy, and thrive in their cricket in the future. That decision that I was talking about expanding the World Cup to 20 teams to get to the end of the 3rd over, the score 13-1, it really is hugely impactful across the entirety of the cricketing world and the 105, 106 member nations of the ICC.
Absolutely. Just expanding so many opportunities, even for this event specifically. I mean, the fact that it's a 20-team World Cup, all the teams who are here have never qualified for the World Cup before. And America's team has never qualified for the World Cup. You've had associate for the T20 World Cup. You've had teams qualifying out of Asia and Africa and East Asia Pacific with Papua New Guinea and Europe, obviously, but nobody from the Americas has ever qualified for the T20 World Cup. So history's going to be made here this week, and that's fantastic to see. One of these 4 teams is going to be going on to the USA and the West Indies for the very first time. Atterbridge has 2. 27-year-old making his T20I debut today and making a big impact. As Curtin, we talked about it, again, somebody with a big reputation for Canada coming out of Barbados, but has never truly backed it up with performances on the field. And again, for somebody with such an immense amount of promise, to go so softly is really disappointing for Canada, and yet the hosts, they're buzzing in the field, 13 for 2.
What a story this is. CJ Outerbridge out of international cricket for 5 years. A long wait to get back in the pink of Bermuda, and he's just picked up 2 wickets in 7 deliveries. A wicket with his very first ball, and now a wicket with the first ball of his second over at 2. Didn't he love it? Let's see if we can take a look at the replay. Might see a few of those dance moves as well. Is that what you see up in Front Street, Peter, is it? The little Outerbridge shuffle.
Yeah, you might see a few of those moves. You see some boats as well. You see plenty out there. You see some fine dining. And the new batter, Pargat Singh, comes out to the middle. Outerbridge, 27. You know, there's other things. Didn't mention education. Guys taking time off to go to college and university. Somebody who played for Bermuda in 2016 and 2018. Just a firm drive, but picks out mid-on the ring. Easy catch. And...
well, this is the angle I want, Peter. I want the dance moves. So as soon as this catch is taken, keep your eyes on CJ Outerbridge here. If we can just keep rolling it on. There's a 1, 2, 3, 4. That'll do nicely for Front Street. In comes the shuffle. Outerbridge on fire. He's got 2. Canada in all sorts of trouble. They are staring down. Maybe not just a defeat here, Peter, but you made the point already. Even if you do go down to defeat in your first game, you've got to keep that margin as narrow as possible. Net run rate could end up playing a key factor later in the tournament.
Now, Lenny, on the Bruno Tony only scorecard, that might get a 3 or a 4 of those. Low expectation. That's a low bar, Lenny, if you're calling that good. I know that there's better moves than some of the other players in the squad for Bermuda.
I'm going to give him a 5. I thought that was an admirable effort. Just a little few moves. Game's not done yet. He's only got 2 for. Pick up a 3rd or a 4th, and Bermuda will very much move into thinking about not just a win, but maybe a very big win. One other thing I want to pick up on, look at the front of that Bermuda kit. We'll see if we can go back to one of the players there.
I know.
The map of the island into the kit. Love that. Another one. Make it 3. And what dance moves are coming out now? Oh, there it is. They can't catch him. He's past 1. He's past 2. And he might not stop. He'll pick up. And the champion dance is coming out now here in Bermuda. The hosts, they are on fire to start with. Outerbridge, he's got all 3.
Breaking down the huddle and breaking down the Canada top order. It's Bermuda propelled by CJ Outerbridge here. And another tag team effort with Delray Rollins at slip. Carbon copy catch that he took in the second over to get Aaron Johnson. This one, another edge coming in at head height. And snapped it up quite easily. So... everybody going back to their fielding positions with big smiles on their faces for Bermuda. As Harsh Tucker played a big role with the ball, and throughout this tournament, he's going to have a big role to play with the bat as well. Huge role here now.
Well, full of confidence, isn't he, Outerbridge? Quite remarkable story. 5 years out of the international game, back in. And he might need to pinch himself, Peter. He might need to check that he is indeed living out his dream here. Bermuda, right on the cusp of another 60 minutes of good cricket here. We'll seal an extraordinary upset win on the opening day of the competition. We thought we were in for a barnstormer on day 1. We felt it was the 2 favourites in the competition. This one down the leg side will be given as a wide. But Bermuda, they're looking to upset the form book, and look at the scoreboard. He's got 3 wickets next to his name. And Canada are nowhere, 15 for 3.
You mentioned the jerseys, though. Nice slower ball by Outerbridge to keep Tucker off balance and the over. These jerseys, Lenny, they are some of the best you'll see on the international circuit. Everything across the chest. And it's not just the chest, Lenny. On the shirt sleeve, on the left arm, they've got the island outline on the left arm too. Or the right arm. It's the lead arm. So depending on if you're right hand or left hand, the outline of the island will be on one of the arms. And these jerseys, you've got on the stomach, you've got the outline of Bermuda, and then as we see Outerbridge going back to his mark, you're going to see the outline on one of the arm sleeves too. These jerseys are extraordinary.
We've already had an early shout from Tom Grunshaw as well on Twitter. I know it's a long way to go. There's a lot of cricket yet to be played here, but if Bermuda could seal qualification, return to the world stage for the first time in 17 years, he reckons that it could be the best kit in the tournament. It's Bermuda kit. Zico Burgess will come into the attack. These three quick bowlers, Outerbridge, Burgess and Leverock, certainly very fine assets to have. Bermuda, are they saying tear up the form book, tear up the rankings, tear up memories of 2019? They're saying we're here to qualify on our home soil. Beauty from Burgess beats Paragat Singh. He comes in with that big rap, that big recommendation from the head coach, Pabudu Dasanayake. The 31-year-old does have some first-class experience back in his native India, where he played for both the Punjab and indeed Madhya Pradesh in the four-day cricket in the Ranji Trophy. Looks like he's well set up, Peter, but the problem is right now, Canada need what's officially more than 10 and over from here. How do they get back into this contest?
Well, it'd help if somebody could put bat on ball and get it out of the middle. It's step number one. I mean, we haven't really seen what they're capable of because nobody's been able to stay out there. And now Paragat Singh getting a rude welcome from Zico Burgess, wearing that one in the ribs. Talked about the form book, Lenny, in the history of this rivalry, at least in T20 cricket, anyway. Bermuda has never beaten Canada in an official match. As single is just milked and to deep third. The only time Bermuda has beaten Canada in a T20 was in a warm-up match before the Global World Cup qualifier in Dubai in 2013. That was November 2013, in one of the unofficial warm-up matches where it was a bat 11, bowled 11, but 13 play. Bermuda beat Canada by 3 wickets, chasing a target of 183 off the final ball. That was way back when Gennaro Tucker was captain in the team. That tells you how long ago it was. I saw Gennaro Tucker out in Canada at the Under-19 World Cup qualifier. He was part of the coaching staff for the Bermuda Under-19 side. But the first time these two teams played each other in T20 cricket was in September 2010 up in Canada during the Canada Summer Cricket Festival. Bermuda bowled out for 61 in just 16.4 overs on that occasion. And then Canada won by 15 runs at the America's qualifier in 2011 in Florida, holding Bermuda to a total of 79 for 9. And they won on Duckworth-Lewis method in a rain-shortened game. They got to 40 for 1 in 7.3 overs. And then you continue through the rivalry as a dot ball will end the over. 16 for 3 after 5. Canada won by 72 runs at the Global World Cup qualifier in 2012 in Dubai. They scored 175 for 6 behind Ravindu Gunasekera making 83. And then they held Bermuda 103 all out. Lionel Can, another blast from the past. That squad captained by David Hemp, Lionel Can, Kurt Stovall, Gennaro Tucker, Stephen Outerbridge in that squad. Kamal Lavrock, who was just a teenager at the time, batting at number 6 in that game, age just 6. Keep going forward to official matches. 2015, that qualifier in Indianapolis and Indiana when USA hosted in 2015, the Americas qualifier again. Canada winning by 34 runs on Duckworth Lewis in a rain-shortened game, holding Bermuda to 70 for 8. And then again in Indianapolis, double round-robin event. Bermuda scratching their way to 114 for 7. Canada winning by 7 wickets easily in the end. And then the 2 matches here in 2019. The first game was in the National Stadium in Hamilton. Again, 82 for 9 on a very difficult wicket. Ended as no result as rain washed out Canada's chase when they were 40 for none after 4 overs. So it was 1 over short of being an official match, but Canada was well on their way to winning that game. And then Canada won by 8 wickets in the match that was played here at Somerset Bridge. We talked about it earlier, as this one's going to be a dead ball called by Jacqueline Williams. Bermuda that day, 116 all out. Lavrock made 33, Alan Douglas made 31, Malachi Jones made 21. There was the only 3 guys to reach double figures for Bermuda. And Rizwan Chima, another blast from the past in terms of the Canada-Bermuda rivalry. Rizwan Chima made 72 that day for Canada, opening the chase. 72 off 35 balls, 8 sixes on this ground, Lenny. This ground, tailor-made for Rizwan Chima, 8 sixes here. And so, in the history of the rivalry, it's been one-way traffic for Canada. 7-0 in T20 cricket. Bermuda could be on the verge of their first ever victory today in T20 cricket versus Canada.
Broken down in style by Peter Delapenna. Right now, Canada getting nothing going. Get a wide here. You talk about the importance of these competitions and preparation for them. Canada chose to go to, I think it was Houston in Texas, to get what their captain described to me at the toss as some acclimatization. I suppose for the heat primarily. That one's slower from Outerbridge. They were excellent in the Cricket World Cup qualifier playoff in terms of achieving what was probably the primary goal of Pabudu Dasanaika, which was to get entry in the 50-over structures through the Cricket World Cup League 2 for the next cycle. They did that, finishing 4th in the competition overall, but taking the spot above Papua New Guinea, who were one of the 2 teams in jeopardy. They got off to a flying start, winning their first 2 games there in Windhoek, beating Jersey and then the United States, and doing enough against Papua New Guinea in the last match. And they probably deserve that place in the top 20 ODI nations. But I go back to the point that they haven't played a formal T20I since November of last year in that Desert Cup T20I series, where they played a quadrangular with Bahrain, Oman and Saudi Arabia. No mean feat to beat Oman on their home soil. Lost 1 match there, but went on to win the final. It's a bit more like it. Use of the feet from Thacker. Gets his first runs. He'll start with a boundary down the ground. In fact, it's Pargat Singh. Just get those graphics corrected. But is that lack of T20I cricket, that lack of match practice counting against Canada coming into this? Bermuda were excellent in Argentina 6 months ago.
Not necessarily. I mean, again, you've got some of these guys who've been involved with minor league cricket. Sabrin Zafar was with the New Jersey Somerset Cavaliers, who reached the final. He's their leading wicket taker, or second leading wicket taker on the season for the Cavs. That minor league final is going to be in Dallas at Grand Prairie Stadium in Grand Prairie. I give so many people a hard time. It's Grand Prairie. Grand Prairie is Grand Prairie. Grand Prairie is west of Dallas. But that's going to be final. So he's actually missing the minor league final to be here. And they qualified for the final without him out of that round-robin qualifying structure in the playoffs out of the Atlantic Conference. Nikhil Dutta was playing minor league cricket. A number of these guys were playing minor league cricket, so they're not short of match practice per se. It's just playing as a unified squad that has been absent.
No, that was a chance. A definite chance for an athlete of Kamal Lavrock's quality. Came at a nice height to him. It might have just bobbled, and they did scamper through for a single, but I think if Lavrock had picked that up cleanly, a direct hit certainly would have done the job to find a 4th wicket, but it will be the end of the power play. Canada 24 for 3.
Just for comparison's sake, Bermuda 62 for 1 after their power play. So Canada way behind right now. Outerbridge with a triple strike in the power play, whereas Levrock was going bonkers. Levrock by himself, Lenny, single-handedly, Kamal Levrock was on 42 off 16 balls in the power play. And as a team, Canada just 24 for 3 after 6. So massive difference between the two sides and how they've approached the early stages of their respective innings.
Burgess going to continue. Just the one run from his first over. He looks fit. He looks strong. Looks in good rhythm. So nearly finds a wicket too. An inside edge saves Pargat Singh. I understand your point about the players being in regular competitive action, but is there a big difference to actually having the full group together and actually playing that intensity and that competitiveness of international cricket? Canada, they look very much like they're being blown away, blitzed away by Bermuda on the opening day.
I think also part of it is just the conditions. You know, they haven't been here for 4 years. And a lot of the guys who were in that squad 4 years ago, again, guys like Aranga, who was one of the leading bowlers for Canada then, Rizwan Chima, Hamza Tariq was the wicketkeeper then. There's been a lot of turnover in this Canada side. So even a lot of the players who were part of that winning squad 4 years ago here are not here. They haven't returned. And lack of familiarity with conditions, all these things add up.
Big appeal, and it's the slow raise of the finger. And the crowd, they went up with Jermaine Lindo as the finger slowly was raised. Burgess, you felt it was coming. Right on the money. And another one falls. Canada, well, they're being blown away in Bermuda.
Well, Zico zaps Pargat. And again, the pace bowlers, who really were poor for Canada. It's been night and day in terms of the quality of the pace bowling by Canada, at least at the top anyway. We saw Kaleem Sano with a tremendous death spell, but the opening overs of pace for Canada were dreadful. They conceded 62 in their power play in the field, and yet Bermuda behind Outerbridge and Zico Burgess, they've been on the money with their opening pace bowling overs, and the success that we've seen here has been remarkable as Burgess just gets it nice and full, and that's stone dead. That's taking out middle stump, and I'm not sure what Pargat Singh is doing. Good acting job. Not quite Academy Award worthy, Lenny. He's not going to get an Emmy either for that one. He might get a Razzie. He might get a Razzie for that.
Well, I think Jermaine Lindo deserves a nomination for the most dramatic LBW decision that he's given. Loved every second of that. There was a little shade of maybe Steve Buckner or one of the great umpires of days gone by, and just taking his time to elevate that finger all the way to indicate the decision. It'll be the keeper batter, Sharmanta Wijayaratne, to the crease. He gets off the mark immediately with a quick single into the leg side. Are we already talking about damage limitation for Canada here, Peter? Is this game gone? Out of sight after just 6.5 overs of the chase?
Well, you might have to. You want to take it as deep as you can, but at this stage you wonder, will they last 20 overs? There's been so much carnage with the pace bowlers, and this could be a catastrophic loss for Canada if things keep going in the direction that they are for the home side. Bermuda.
And it just keeps getting better. Harsh Thacker is going to have to step back, and a rather X-Factor celebration from Zico Burgess is there because the top of our stump has been clipped. And it's party time on Saturday morning in Bermuda. You can start the cars early here. There's only one way this game is going.
What is Harsh Thacker doing here? You're 27 for 4, Lenny. at a stage of the game where you just got to stretch things out. What kind of shot is he playing here? This is a extraordinary shot. And again, it highlights the home field advantage. They know this wicket's going to grip. And Zico Burgess getting this one to cut off the wicket using the assistance. We saw this one just jags in. But again, that's a very, very loose shot. I know T20 standards are different from how you would approach things in other formats, but that shot is just far too loose with fielders pushed back on the boundary. And Canada now 27 for 5. The cleverness, Zico Burgess just taking a little bit of pace off and getting that one to hit the top of leg stump. So Nikhil Dutta is going to come to the middle here, and Dutta can bat, and they're going to need him to bat long here. He's somebody who has been a prolific scorer on the domestic scene within Ontario, more known for his bowling for Canada, but this is an extraordinary situation he's been inserted into here in the 7th over with Canada 27 for 5. And again, in context, this rivalry, it's been one-way traffic, 7-0 for Canada in T20 cricket coming into today against Bermuda, and all those matches have been lopsided.
Well, 7-0 is almost certainly going to become 7-1. And it couldn't come at a better time for Bermuda. We both felt, Peter, we were there in Buenos Aires at the sub-regional qualifier, scored 27 for 5 after 7. We felt this was a different Bermudian side to ones of even 2, 3, 4 years ago. Zico Burgess, he's got 2 for 4. They looked fitter, they looked stronger, they looked more determined. Delray Rollins wore the leadership weight very well. Leverock was outstanding. I know it was lower ranked opposition they were playing against in Buenos Aires, but it was the style with which they won that tournament. And then the assistance of what we knew were going to be home conditions for them at this regional final, that we felt that Bermuda were going to put it up to Canada. And they're showing that in spades right now. This might not just decide today's game. This could decide the tournament today's result.
Well, again, I said it before, USA is more thrilled than anybody that they don't have to be here.
The guy with the red cap on the left, the coach.
USA lost twice to Bermuda here in 2019, and the fact that USA gets an automatic berth as co-host for the World Cup next year, USA is the most happy team in the Americas region to not have to be here, because this was a field of horrors for them in 2019. Is Pubudu Desanayake, he's got hands on hips, wondering where he's going to get some answers in the field. And CJ Outerbridge, Lenny, he's doing a Kalimua. 4 straight with the new ball in T20 cricket. Rarely do you see this, but taking a page out of the big man's playbook from Oman, 4 straight with the new ball. And why not with the way he's bowled here, Lenny?
And I'll tell you what you'll have heard in the background there. That home crowd are roaring them on. I asked Delray Rollins at the toss, were they going to be their 12th man, their 12th player? And they're very much proving to be that way right now. Pubudu Desanayake has seen it all around the associate circuit. He's known as the maestro, maybe the best associate coach in history, doing brilliant jobs with Canada originally and the United States of America, Nepal, and now back with Canada. But right now he looks bereft of ideas and indeed answers. I don't think him, his side, or anyone involved in Canadian cricket was expecting this today. This is a seismic shock we're witnessing.
The glory of associate cricket, Lenny. This is why they play the games.
Just tickled around the corner, played very nicely. But Burgess does enough, and he did safely keep it inside the line. We had a good view of that. Just going to be 2 runs to the total. I asked you, was it going to be damage limitation for Canada? Can you explain to people why, even if Canada go down to defeat here, why keeping that margin of victory as narrow as possible is so important?
Again, for people who don't understand net run rate is calculated by runs scored divided over overs batted, and you divide all of that over runs conceded divided by overs in the field. So the pace that you score your runs is divided by the pace that you concede your runs. And as things stand, Bermuda is on track to have a sizable advantage, and by comparison, Canada would be at a sizable deficit after today, as you can see that replay from Ezekiel Burgess' effort. Fantastic work on the boundary to save 2 runs. So if you go down by 50 runs, 60 runs, 80 runs today, that's 80 runs essentially you have to make up at some stage over the course of the rest of the tournament to overcome that deficit.
Yeah, and to just use the example from this game, let's just say hypothetically Canada make 100 in the chase here, 120. Let's call it 120. So they'll have scored at 6 runs per over if they score 120. Bermuda have scored at 9 runs per over. So there's a 3 net run rate per over deficit there that Canada will have to make up in due course. It means that even if they can go on to beat the likes of the Cayman Islands and Panama twice each, they'll have to try and do it as quickly as possible, because if Bermuda did the same, remember, these are definitely the 2 most fancied sides in the tournament. Look at Pabudu Dasanaika. Let's just take a look at him here. He's usually so cool, so calm. He's not able to sit right now because he can't believe what he's witnessing. Very surprised by it. But there is a reasonable possibility. You look at Canada in this tournament 4 years ago, winning 5 from 6. The only game they didn't win was a washout. But you could have 2 teams tied, 5 wins apiece at the top of the table in Bermuda and Canada. That's if Canada can beat them in the rematch.
Well, the only thing that is in Pubudu's favor right now is the memory of 2013. He was the head coach of Nepal when Nepal was here for Division III, World Cricket League Division III in 2013. They got an absolute shellacking at the hands of USA on day 1. USA scored, I believe it was 370 on the opening day of the tournament against Nepal. Stephen Taylor 162 in that match. Tim Roy Allen had a fiery half-century as well. And they lost on day 2. I believe they went down to Uganda as Jacqueline Williams decides not to field for Canada on that occasion. Field for Bermuda, as that one goes past the umpire for a run. They were 0-2 with 2 sizable losses on the opening day of World Cricket League Division III in 2013. And they came roaring back. They beat Italy. They beat Oman. And they beat Bermuda. As this one is going to find a gap on the leg side and going to go for 4 runs. So Nikhil Dutta showing that he can bat. He does it on the domestic scene quite well. And that last day went over Italy. They absolutely crushed Italy, chasing a target of 128 in just 14.5 overs. Going into that day, USA thought, all USA needed to do was think, all we need to do is beat Bermuda, a team they hadn't lost to in, I believe it was 8 years heading into that match. USA hadn't lost to Bermuda since 2005. They had an extraordinary record against Bermuda. And Christopher Douglas, another one of the Douglases, produced one of the most extraordinary innings I've ever seen, chasing the target of 221. He came out and against Elmore Hutchinson was just bashing Elmore from boundary to boundary, playing scoops, playing all sorts of insane shots over fine leg and down the ground and square of the wicket. And USA was just shell-shocked. And USA walked into that day thinking they had a victory and a spot in the World Cup qualifier in New Zealand, all but assured. And Nepal, in the most extraordinary circumstances, not only beat Italy and chased that target inside of 15 overs, but with USA stumbling against Bermuda on the final day, Bermuda was just looking to avoid relegation. Bermuda had no chance to advance to the World Cup qualifier, but the hosts played spoiler that day. That match against USA was at the National Stadium in Hamilton, and that was one of the most famous days in Bermuda cricket history, USA cricket history, and Christopher Douglas has never come remotely close to producing an innings anywhere near that standard in the rest of his career. It was one of the most shocking innings from one of the most unlikely sources in Bermuda history. And after he had that fiery 89 off 75 balls, and he got out basically because he was exhausted. It was a hot, sticky day. He just ran out of gas. He lost out on a century because he was just out of energy. He was cramping up that day. Once he got out, all David Hemp needed to do was just tap singles. Just tap singles, and USA saw their World Cup qualifier dreams go up in smoke.
Yeah, the cardiac kids from Nepal starting to write their chapters at that point. Went on to win that tournament, beating Uganda in the playoff final as both sides advanced on to that 2014 Cricket World Cup qualifier, where the two qualifiers, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, Peter, who was at Scotland and I think the UAE went through from that in New Zealand. Let's take a look at the runworm. That really paints a picture, doesn't it? The sixth over of the first innings was smashed for 26 by Kamau Leverock off the pace of Jeremy Gordon. Canada have got nothing going at all in response in that sort of turquoise green. Rather fitting colours given the beautiful sea that surrounds this island.
It matches the watercolor for sure, Lenny. Got to see plenty of that water out on the course yesterday. Some beautiful views at Port Royal Golf Course, which is just a couple hundred meters from here. It's not that far from here.
The first time I've seen this at a cricket ground as well. We got some VIPs being escorted around in a golf cart. Is this one? The entrance to spin is greeted by the spin bowling all-rounder of Nikhil Dutta with the boundary over the offside. Nicely inside out. Rollins, the fourth bowler to be used. As you said, he does tend to bowl sort of slightly more darty off breaks. Left arm off spin, that is. These days. Who would be the fifth bowling option, do you feel? Macy Brangman, will it be? Or Alan Douglas Jr.? Who's going to be given that responsibility?
Could see Brangman bowl some spin, for sure. Brangman has got 10 wickets in his career.
Chance. This would have been gone. It was a complete mix-up as Rollins just couldn't quite affect the stop himself, but it was Brangman, just as we were talking about him, who came around from extra cover, picked it up cleanly, and for me, a direct hit would have been gone. He'd gone for all money. Would have summed up Canada's day thus far as well. Shorter this time. Ratney just taking time to get used to the pace of the wickets. You talk about being caught cold on the opening day of a tournament. Is that what's happening to Canada here?
Again, a lot of these guys are not veterans at this ground. It's the first time playing on this wicket for a lot of people, whereas Bermuda far more accustomed to playing here. And that home field advantage, especially on day one, you know, USA, you asked them 4 years ago, they would have much preferred to have played Cayman Islands on day one of the tournament. As you could see, Dutta gave up there, and Rollins can't believe it. He's crestfallen. He thought that was on the money from Brangman at mid-off, and it just goes wide of the stumps. But yeah, day one of these tournaments, Lenny, is when you can get ambushed. Saw it happen to Singapore against Scotland at the Global Qualifier in 2019. Singapore, at that point in time, nobody had seen Tim David before, really, with the exception of Zimbabwe. Some of the other players that Singapore had, some of the pace bowlers, were people that Scotland hadn't seen before, and they were just outright ambushed on day one of the tournament. As we are going to see Derek Brangman come on to bowl his left-arm spin. As I said, 10 wickets in his career, bowling a left-arm spin. 36-year-old.
Cut away. Finds the gap between those two men behind square, but you see again there that outfield, particularly if you're hitting it all the way along the ground, it's not the quickest. Almost advertises the quality of Leverock and Roland's ball striking in that first innings. When they hit it, it was soaring either into the sky or across the turf, taking that slower outfield out of play. Canada, nothing like the same timing, and this could be another chance. It is out. Vijay Ratne could not get the pace of the wicket at any point, and Terran Frey takes a simple catch with a bit of a celebration to boot right in front of the home crowd. Bermuda, well, they continue to be on fire.
They're taking this awfully coolly, Lenny. You've got the reggae music out now. They put away some of the higher paced tunes. This is just a casual on course for victory feel right now at this ground. Almost the excitement has been taken out of the crowd. They're just waiting for the 20th over to come here because Canada needs 13 and over from this stage. Vijay Ratne, it's an awful long way to try and sweep that ball to the leg side. That's on 7th, 8th stump. You got to drag that so far against the turn. If that's on middle stump, on leg stump, yeah, you can go for that sweep shot if it's against the turn. But dragging it as far wide as he did to try and get it back to the leg side, even on a short boundary ground like this, that's an awful tough shot to play. And Terran Frey with an easy catch out of deep square leg. So, again, 13 and over from here. Canada, if they weren't thinking about it before, they got to start thinking about net run rate damage limitation here. Sudman Zafar, again, somebody you can bat. Canada bats very deep, but fewer wickets you have here, you can't be going crazy trying to attack every ball because you could go from trying to get yourself close to the total with 140 for 150, and it could backfire dramatically where you could find yourself all out for 70 or 80 here if you're not careful.
Starts nicely. Single into the leg side. Well, seeing lots of Bermuda shirts in the crowd as well. This is going to set this tournament up brilliantly if Bermuda complete a comprehensive victory. One of the things, I know there's a lot of debate about the demise of the global qualifier, but one thing it does guarantee is this could be a chance. In fact, it's going to go all the way. Good athletic effort right into our scorer's tent, and men and women there had to take evasive action. They signal that they do accept the 6, but they weren't best pleased with it nearly making impact with them. Lovely stroke from Dutta, not trying to overhit.
This is just straight through the line. Gorgeous lofted drive from Nikhil Dutta over wide long off. And again, he's coming our way, Lenny. Come on, Lenny. Show us what you got, Lenny. Oh, Lenny, I'm disappointed. Lenny. Lenny got, I sabotaged Lenny's what happened there. You tripped over my chair.
I was about 15 yards from it, Peter. Well, there were media right to our left. They didn't make much of an effort at it. That's why these guys are mainly writing and photographing. We've seen some brilliant photos already captured by the Royal Gazette team. One I saw during the innings break, Peter, of that broken stump with the bales actually in the air.
What's your name, sir?
Yeah, Ross McCall capturing that image from the Royal Gazette. We're going to see if we can get that up on social media later, because you and I have seen a lot of cricket, Peter. You're not going to see a better photo than this one. 11 overs bowled, 63 for 6 the score. Canada just fighting back with those back-to-back sixes. Again, you might feel that the game is gone, but that net run rate could not be any more critical. It really couldn't. And even if Canada could get up to that 130, 140 marker, that would narrow the margin of defeat at least.
Yeah, it's so important from here to just, again, mitigate the damage. Canada doing well there behind Dutta. Get those 6s, and the pink shirt's iconic here in Bermuda. The kids playing cricket. Now, you were talking about VIPs being ferried around here on the golf cart, Lenny. The VIPs were the ones doing the driving. Jamal Proctor, who was a star for the Bermuda under-19 side in Canada, he was in the front seat. He was escorting people around.
Gotta love that. And great to see those pink shirts being rather popular, Peter. I think that could be a souvenir I might have to bring back home, although I'm never at home. There he is, one of the young men you'll have seen in action. And they are doing a roaring trade, I think it's fair to say right now. Pretty in pink.
Yeah, the VIPs, you know, the famous people are the regulars here on the island, Lenny. And this was going to be an overthrow, so going for the run out. Saad bin Zafar is going to pick up 2 runs instead, Lenny. Everybody's a local here, Lenny. We talked about it with the taxi driver here on the way over here, Paul Trott. He was saying, yeah, you know, you see Michael Douglas on the island here, you see Michael Bloomberg, you don't get excited. It's Michael Douglas. You don't have to react.
Leverock's return from the bridge end of the ground. Definitely maybe not the weather we'd expected. We'd expected slightly sunnier climbs, but it has got quite heavy, quite overcast.
It's definitely sticky. You get the sea air coming in, you get the humidity coming in off the water. Not so much sun today. It's not threatened to rain. It's not looked like it's going to rain at all. It's just kind of what you get in this part of the world where just a tiny bit overcast. Block the sun out, but yeah, the sea air just a bit muggy at times.
Cleans him up straight through. Full straight. The Yorker works the job, and Leverock goes over to the home crowd to celebrate accordingly with them. And hit the road, Jack rings out from the hometown DJ. Brilliant atmosphere on a memorable day. One of the best in the recent history of Bermudian cricket. They are right now blitzing Canada away.
Well, Bermuda continues to break down not just the huddle, but they keep breaking down the Canada lineup today. And who is doing the breaking down right now? It's Bongi going boom into the base of leg stump. 22 on the back of the jersey, number 1 in the hearts of the Bermuda faithful here, line of the boundary at Somerset Bridge. This is not what you would have expected if you were a Canada fan coming into today. The ambush from Bermuda. Where's that Bermudian hospitality, Lenny? We've seen it so many places on the island in the last 24, 48 hours. Bermudian hospitality not showing up for the Canadians so far. 12 overs into the chase.
Well, it's setting up a sensational Saturday. Bermuda, they're sensing blood. They want to end this. They want to bowl Canada out here. Humiliate the tournament's leading ranked side. Humiliate the tournament's favourites coming in. Were they able to close out, let's say, a 70 or 80 run victory, that would put Bermuda into a position where they know 4 wins against their lower ranked opposition, against Panama and against the Cayman Islands. They could well have a cushion, a comfortable cushion to work with going into that Canada versus Bermuda rematch, which, if you'll correct me if I'm wrong, I believe rounds the tournament out. Final game.
Yeah, the two top-ranked sides, they bookend the tournament. First match of the tournament on the opening day and the last match of the tournament on day 6.
And you got to say good work from the organisers doing that, putting the two top-ranked sides into action on both of the Saturdays of the event.
That's why Billy McDermott gets paid the big bucks, Lenny.
Esteban Billy McDermott, one of the ICC Americas team here, helping coordinate all the structures. You can feel the island's really taking this tournament in, though. No stranger to hosting major international sporting events. You said the America's Cup and the sailing. We've seen what was the Grand Slam of golf here, and now is no more, but do have the Bermuda PGA National Championship coming up. I think that's next month.
Did you get excited? Did it make your trip when you got to see Padraig Harrington with his framed photo up on the walls yesterday as a proud Irishman, Lenny?
Going to be 4. Scream of frustration from Leverock. So that's helped round the corner. Bermuda trying to be ruthless here. Well, you're a stickler for name pronunciations, Peter, so I'll call you out on that one.
Let's hear. Where's the Gaelic? Is it Patrick? What is it supposed to be? I know Padraig is Patrick is the translation. What is it supposed to be?
Well, it's definitely not Padraig, and it's not
Padraig. What is it?
The D is silent. It's Padraig Harrington.
See, on CBS when they did the Masters coverage all those years ago, they'd always call him Padraig.
Well, I can guarantee you that's wrong as an Irishman.
Let's hear it again.
Padraig Harrington. Padraig. It's a G at the end of the name.
I learned it was Patrick because when I took the Aer Lingus flight, when we went to Disney World over Christmas this year, the Aer Lingus flight direct, one side of the plane, they named the planes. For people who don't know, every plane is named. They name the planes. Every airline does this, but Aer Lingus, they name their airlines, yes, after saints. So on one side, it said Parik. That's what you're telling me is the pronunciation.
Well, see, there is another name.
And then you looked on the other side of the plane, and it said St. Patrick. St. Patrick was the plane.
Well, there's actually 3 names. So there's Patrick, which is our patron saint, which is the most common and easiest to pronounce. There's then Padraig, which is Padraic, and then there's Padraig with the G. So Padraig and Padraig, both reasonably common, but one thing is certain, he was the Grand Slam champion here. Padraig Harrington, back in 2014, I think, at the Port Royal Golf Course. And I did enjoy seeing his scorecard and his significantly better numbers that were being posted than ours yesterday.
I tell you what, Lenny, what else I'm learning right here is the politeness of the Irish community. Because every time Padraig Harrington is introduced as Padraig on the CBS broadcast in America, not once in 20 years have I ever seen him attempt to correct Jim Nantz or any of the other broadcasters.
Well, that's Irish people to a T. We get on with life. We enjoy it. This is going to be cut away for 4. Little bit of an outside edge to it, but Sabin Safar, he started promptly. He moves into double figures. Alan Douglas Jr. having a bowl for the first time in the competition.
I've got my Seamuses and my Siobhans. Siobhan.
Yeah, they're both right. Spot on.
You know, we've had... Growing up in New Jersey, I had plenty of Seamuses and Siobhans in the area. So
what about your Saoirse Ronan? Would you have that one, the famous...
Saoirse, yeah.
Saoirse. It doesn't look like Saoirse when
Niamh,
you look at the spelling.
I know Niamh.
Yeah, Niamh.
Yeah.
Niamh is spot on. It's definitely not Padraig or whatever you were saying.
No, all the Irish kids in Kinnelon, New Jersey, they were all called Patrick, Patrick. So I didn't get introduced to the Parik, the traditional pronunciation.
Yeah, fine golf for Europe dominating the Ryder Cup today. It is a big Ryder Cup weekend as well. Another Irishman, Rory McIlroy, very much to the fore. Alan Douglas going to continue. We're going to have a free hit, though. No ball signalled. And don't know if this was for an overstep or for another one of the possible errors, but either a front foot or a back foot no ball. And because the batters have changed strike, they can change the field. That's what Delray Rowlands is trying to do now. Bermuda want to be ruthless. They want to take as big a win as possible. Remember, the 2 points are probably not in question right now. The margin of victory, though, very much up for debate. As Douglas may well have had a wicket if it wasn't for the fact that was a free hit. A little feather of an inside edge through the keeper who gloves it cleanly.
14 wickets coming into today for Alan Douglas at an average of 10.14, 6.35 economy rate. It's his 17th match, and he's only bowled, now this is 8 times, so he bowls less than half the matches that he plays, but he's got the only 5-wicket haul in Bermuda's T20I history.
And how's that in rather inquisitive style from Alan Douglas Jr.? Very much entitled to appeal. You can do it any way you want. There's a marvellous mix in this island. I know it's only my second day here, Peter, but kind of a marvellous mix of laid-back island style and emphatic enthusiasm at the same time. Would that be fair to say? People are quite passionate here.
Oh, yes. They love their cricket. They love their cricket. 5 for 18 was that 5-wicket haul against Cayman Islands in a match where he also scored 47 not out. That was in 2019 on this ground. Alan Douglas looking to conjure up some of that nostalgia from 4 years ago with what he's doing here in this spell as the over ends. 80 for 7 after 13 at target. An awful long way away, Lenny. 102 runs needed off of 42 deliveries. Where's your money, Lenny?
Well, it looks to me like the game is gone for Canada, but certainly their captain and debutant who are out there together will need to find a way to get as many as they can. Might want to try and set some targets, maybe 130, 140, narrow that margin of victory in every way possible. And this is one of the things I actually love about net run rate. I know some people look at it and feel it's a little bit confusing or complicated, but the calculations are always done by the experts, and they're very mathematical, they're very simple. We saw the rather surreal scenario at the Asia Cup this year where Afghanistan simply did not understand net run rate. They didn't understand that even though they were set a very tall task of chasing whatever it was, I think it was 300 odd in, or 280, 290 in 33, 34 overs, they thought that was an absolute. There is then, of course, that added difference to net run rate, whereby if you hit your final ball when the scores are tied or you need one to win for 4 or for 6, those runs count.
And this just shows you how far Afghanistan has progressed, because the coaching staff and the majority of the players who are part of the World Cricket League era, where net run rate is so crucial, all those players have moved on more or less, with the exception of maybe Muhammad Nabi. Everybody else in the squad is a youngster who never really had to go through those scenarios on the way up the World Cricket League ladder.
Boldham is the shout from the crowd, and Boldham is the shout here in the commentary box too. Bajwa's debut innings in international cricket is gone, and Rawlins goes straight to his great friend Kamel Everock to celebrate. It's been those two really who've led the way alongside CJ Outerbridge and Zico Burgess. Bermuda looking beautiful.
I have to say here, I feel like this is a missed opportunity, Lenny. Delray Rawlins was sent off as the non-striker earlier today. This time, Bajwa plays across the line, comes off the pad, ricochets onto the stumps. Perfect opportunity for him to send off the non-striker here, like for like. Saad bin Zafar now, he says, I'm going to celebrate with my teammates instead. 81 for 8, Lenny. Never in a million years did I think I would see this scoreline on the opening day of play, as this is turning into, quite frankly, a humiliating performance for Canada. Again, 7-0 record coming into today. 7-0 lopsided record coming into today. And if I asked somebody which team is 7-0 based on today's performance, you would have said Bermuda. You would never know watching this match that it's actually Canada who's got an undefeated record coming into today against Bermuda.
Yeah, very special day for Bermudian cricket. It's always had great promise. It's had some highs and lows, and in recent time, probably more lows than highs in the last decade. But with Delray Rawlins, Kamel Everock, and their assisting cast, they're showing here in their home soil they could be a force to be reckoned with, and this could inspire a nation. I think you're spot on, Peter. It's going to be a rout. Kalim Sana, not known for his batting, only big Jeremy Gordon to come in next at number 11. This game is gone, and if Bermuda can be ruthless and pick up these final 2 wickets, they could be picking up a massive net run rate boost to go alongside the 2 points.
And again, it also highlights how crucial just 1 or 2 players can make a difference in T20 cricket. Top to bottom, Canada has far more depth than Bermuda. And I don't think Bermuda would argue with that. But you get a performance like you got today with the bat out of Rawlins and Leverock, and that just changes things so dramatically. We saw what happened when Rawlins got out. They scored 3 runs off the final 2 overs. So as much as Canada has been battered and bruised here today, it could have been even bloodier if Rollins didn't get out for the last 2 overs. 83 for 8 after 14.
Clubbed away, all the way for 6, dragged down by Douglas and dispatched into the deep. Zafar needs to keep fighting here. These periods just as critical as the ones that will come later in the tournament for Canada. And the captain finding a way to get one over the ropes. Did you see this result coming, Peter? Was this in your expectations as you came to the ground this morning?
I just remember the opening day 4 years ago. And what they did against USA. I cannot underscore enough the importance of these home field conditions helping out Bermuda. You put them at the grounds in the USA when they've played qualifiers in the USA. And the times that they've had to tour Canada, they look like a far, far different team. The almost unrecognizable team compared to the tournaments they played on home soil in Bermuda. When they play in Bermuda, again, Bermuda was a team, go back to that World Cricket League tournament in 2013. They had not beaten USA in 8 years. 8 years. And all those matches were lopsided, and yet that last day at the National Stadium in Hamilton in 2013, they walloped USA in that game. They canted home with 5 overs to spare. And so you could make a strong case that more so than any other associate team around the world, Bermuda, their home field advantage is way more significant than arguably anybody. The only other team I could say that comes close to this is Papua New Guinea. Papua New Guinea, when they played their home matches in the World Cricket League Division II structure, they were humiliated everywhere else around the world, and yet when they hosted teams in World Cricket League Division II, they were incredibly competitive.
And it shows, I think it's a really good point, it shows the importance of conditions in cricket. Totally unique, really, as a sport like that. Take a look at this ground. Look at the work that's gone in from the Bermuda Cricket Board. Many a local expert has told us here that the ground has never looked as well, ringed with all of the marquees for the sun lounger. You've got the VIP tent there to the left. All the way around, you've got the lovely Toblerones. For the advertising, you've got the big screen and the scoreboard. And you've got to say credit to everyone involved here at White Hill. Looks an absolute picture. And Boldham is the shout again. Delray Rollins has another. And surely now Canada will be bowled out. Maybe well inside their 20 overs. This has been a rout.
Bullseye, not for the first time today. Middle and middle. This time the stump isn't broken in half, Lenny. Rollins doesn't quite have the same zing on his deliveries as Kaleem Sana, but it's effective nonetheless when you hit the stumps. 91 for 9. This is extraordinary. They could be on the verge of doubling up Canada here. This is just beyond Bermuda's wildest dreams, what we're witnessing here today. And Canada is going to be behind the 8 ball for the next 4 match days, heading into the rematch against Bermuda. That'll wrap up the tournament. And again, Lenny, something else to keep in mind, you never know if rain comes. If we don't even have that match, this one could be what puts Bermuda into the World Cup next year.
Well, there's immediate jeopardy and immediate desperation potentially for the highest ranked side. Jeremy Gordon, the number 11 to the crease. He ends up leaving it alone outside the off stump. With this format, of course, we really have to not discount the likes of the Cayman Islands or Panama's chances either. They'll come here with their dreams, their hopes as well. These are the two tournament favourites by the rankings. There's big gaps as well. 19th in the world and 32nd in the world for Bermuda, 19th Canada, 38th in the world the Cayman Islands. And Panama, what a story that is. 70th in the world, making it all the way here to the Americas regional final. But for Bermuda, an island of 63, 65,000 people, something in that vicinity, they would without doubt be the smallest country to qualify for that T20 World Cup, barring something extraordinary that I can't quite envisage through the Asia region, potentially, or the Africa region. But with 15 teams having their names in the hat, 5 to go, Bermuda very much going to be dreaming big over the next week or so.
I wonder, will there be sleepless nights just out of anxiousness? So much energy. It'd be flying high after today. Can you keep yourself composed enough just to stay relaxed? Do what needs to be done in terms of carrying out your business in the other games.
Show us that full frame of all the games. The one that you designed, yeah? End of the over. If it gets there.
Talk about sleepless nights of regret on one side for Canada. On the flip side, Bermuda might have some sleepless nights just out of anxiousness with what's in store potentially for them. They've got a spot in the World Cup now on a silver platter.
Well, it's very much there for the taking. Win your 4 games against the lower-ranked opposition that are to come. This one angling down the leg side, despite Delray Rowland's appeal. And then it all sets it up for a final Super Saturday. Remember, Canada would have to also win their 4 games against those lower-ranked sides too. But you're spot on. With this advantage that they're going to take, an 80-plus run victory, it looks like, over the highest-ranked team in the tournament. I wouldn't quite say a silver platter, Peter, but they put themselves very much in pole position.
A VIP platter? A catered platter at the very least?
I'm going to stick with pole position as the best analogy for now. 16 overs bowled. The score is 93 for 9. Let's take a look at those fixtures, what we have to come both today and then for the remainder of the tournament. Every day has 2 games, and we play back-to-back days before a rest day each time. So Saturday, today, the tournament's opener sees Bermuda versus Canada, and then this afternoon, the 2:30 p.m. game will be the Cayman Islands versus Panama. We'll stay then at Whitehill tomorrow on Sunday, where Bermuda will be in action in the morning again. They'll take on Panama. And again, each game now, you're not just thinking about the 2 points, you're thinking about that net run rate before Canada will have to get past the challenge of the Cayman Islands. We'll have a day off, and then we'll move up to the National Stadium for back-to-back days of action. And then Friday and Saturday we'll round the tournament out after the second rest day on the 5th. I like the way they've set it up with the 2 highest-ranked teams bookending the tournament opener and the tournament climax.
Well, you like it if you're watching at home. If you're Canada right now, you're saying, why couldn't you give us Cayman Islands or Panama to start off with? Let us ease into conditions here. They're not going to be happy that they had to be paired with Bermuda on day 1. And on the flip side, Bermuda, yeah, day 1 is the best opportunity to spring an upset.
It's really been almost from ball 1, everything's gone their way. Yes, they did lose Trey Manders reasonably early, but then Kamel Everock, he's now got the ball in hand. He changed the game in a matter of 7 or 8 overs.
Well, literally, ball 1 was a boundary. Get off the mark, Kamel Everock. And then that 6th over, that was the real sucker punch. 26 runs from Kamel Everock off Jeremy Gordon. That was the Buster Douglas putting Mike Tyson on the mat, Lenny, at the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, 42 for 1 for those who don't know about that. They called it the world's greatest upset. Mike Tyson looked like he was unbeatable in a 2-horse race. Buster Douglas shocked the world in Bermuda. Well, they're shocking the cricketing world this morning. We're into the afternoon now, local time, but got so many messages from everyone around the world enjoying the action. And it's really whet the appetite for what's to come. Saad bin Safar wants a second. He's going to get back safely, but at the non-striker's end, Jeremy Gordon's very nearly run out. The home crowd thought he was gone, but Jermaine Lindo didn't.
Do you want to put an asterisk next to that one, Lenny? Could be all out for 92. Or all out for 94, pardon me. And instead, wonder how many runs Canada might add here off the final 21 illegal deliveries, if they can get through all 21.
Yeah, Leverock, so impressive. It really has been. But this is just seismic. It's the only word I can use to describe it. We expected a good contest, a close contest where Canada would have fancied their chances, but Bermuda have just blitzed them away. As you eloquently pointed out, Peter, right from ball one, the first one going for a boundary. Leverock's ball striking alongside Rowland's, different quality to anything we've seen from Canada's batters. Canada just haven't adjusted to the conditions, Peter.
No. It's been really shocking, you got to say. They just didn't wake up. Maybe they enjoyed the Bermuda hospitality off the field a bit too much. The Grotto Bay Hotel, the team hotel, nice hotel there, hosting everybody so nicely. The sea air.
Well, that's going to be that, I think. Jacqueline Williams agrees. The finger goes up, and Bermuda have taken the most brilliant, the most bombastic, the most beautiful victory for the island. And this entire island is going to get behind their nation.